Games, Paris 2024.
With Chapman.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
So we have reached day 15 of the Olympics here in Paris, the penultimate day of action. And on top of that, football is back in England. Commentary of the Community Shield between Manchester City and Manchester United.
Bruno Fernandes helps it to Vino! Brilliant finish by Vino! That was a super goal, and Manchester United lead City by 2-0.
Kicks off at 3 and Pep Guardiola's hoping to avenge that FA Cup final defeat.
It's important, the final against United, to try to refine ourselves, step by step in a good game. And we go for it.
The EFL is already underway. The race for promotion starts here.
Portsmouth have won it. They've won the game. They've won promotion. They've won the league. They're going to the championship as title winners. And Pompey have waited so long for this moment.
So we'll have all the football for you. But here in Paris, can Team GB claim another climbing medal? Maz Faruqi.
And Erin McNeice is in contention to win a medal for Great Britain. Her combined boulder and lead total of 127.6 has put her right in contention, top of the leaderboard in fact at the moment.
Final round of the women's golf today. Ian Carter.
Early stages for the leaders, and it's very tight. Three-way tie for the lead. Miyu Yamashita has got it to 8 under par alongside Morgan Metro and Lydia Ko. Both bogeyed the opening hole. Nelly Corder's making a move. She's up to 6 under within 2 of the lead.
We'll bring you everything here as it happens on a very, very busy Saturday afternoon on 5 Live. You can also follow it all on the BBC Sport website and app.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Chapman.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
One of those ridiculous Saturday afternoons where we're going to bounce here, there and everywhere over the next 6 hours. Base here in Paris, another glorious sunny afternoon as the Olympics get close to their finish. The penultimate day today. We've got track cycling, women's football gold medal match later. We've got taekwondo, we've got modern pentathlon, as well as the climbing, as well as the golf, as well as probably for the French here, the biggest event of the day is the men's basketball tonight. France against the USA. So we will be across that a little later on as well. And that's on top of all the football. So you've got the Community Shield, commentary of that from 3 o'clock, but you won't miss any of the goals as they go in, or the climbing wall as it's climbed, or the taekwondo as they fight each other. John Murray will, well, maybe he doesn't know it yet, but John Murray will keep you up to date with all of that. And it is this opening weekend of the EFL, and because it is this new TV deal with the EFL, we've got games here, there and everywhere. There were several last night that took place. The championship games today kick off at 12:30. Then we've got League 2 at 3 o'clock, and then League 1 gets underway at 5:30. So that's kind of how it's all going to plan out over the course of the next 6 hours or so. Let's head back to the climbing, to Le Bourget and Maz Faruqi.
And Erin McNeice was the second climber to attempt the lead wall, this 15-metre wall, which on a reminder the climbers can score a maximum of 100 points if they get to the top. But they get one attempt on, there are no reclimbs, and they can't have any practice sessions beforehand. Erin McNeice managed a score of 68.1. She fell just before the really high scoring section at the top. But added to a boulder total, that's the first discipline these athletes had to climb earlier today. There are 4.5 metre boulders that the climbers have a set period of time to climb. They get points deducted each time they fall. That plus her lead total puts Erin McNeice on 127.6. She is being supported by her gold medal winning teammate Toby Roberts, who's watching here as she attempted this lead climb, and of course he became the Olympic champion yesterday. But Erin McNeice has just lost top spot to Japan's Mori Ai, so she's in silver medal position at the moment with 3 climbers still to attempt the lead wall.
Toby's dad, Tristan, is actually the coach as well within the climbing setup. So he's got another nervous afternoon as he watches Erin. The thing is as well, Maz, when you watch it on TV, and I've got it on a screen in front of me as well, there are certain areas of it that you just cannot appreciate the overhang and the gradient on it. It all depends on what camera angle you get.
Yeah, I've got a really good camera angle here just showing it's kind of like a 40-degree incline. At the bottom, by the way, this is supposed to be the easiest section this climber is attempting at the moment, and I have absolutely no idea the problem-solving skills that they kind of have to use to try and work out which way they're going to try and get up this wall. They do get a 6-minute period where they all come out before the first climber attempts the lead wall, where they all kind of look at it. They get binoculars out and stare up at the kind of high meters of this 15-meter wall, and they kind of have a chat with each other about how they're going to do it. But how they work out where to go, how to try and get up there, when their arms must be burning as well, and they've got, you know, a set period of time to try and attempt this. It's so impressive. I have absolutely no idea how they do it.
No. So we will be watching that with interest throughout the course of the afternoon, with Erin McNeice currently in silver medal position. Thank you, Maz. You haven't, have you? The way you're looking at me would suggest that there's you can't have
Chappers. Let me tell you something.
Latvian climbing story or something.
I've got a London climbing story.
All right,
there's a brilliant climbing wall on the Westway just before you get to where the old BBC used to be. Yeah. But to really enjoy it, you've got to illegally go up onto the Westway. And that's why sometimes if you're ever driving towards Shepherd's Bush, suddenly there's dozens and dozens of people. It's because there's someone in town climbing a 60-foot wall, 15-meter wall, and of course they changed the position, so those are moved, and you can see them, and they're watching, and they're shouting down. It's hypnotic, and more than that, it's captivating, and more than that, I just want John Murray to have to throw to Maz
for a climbing
for a climbing, and him to say, "Is it speed or boulder, Maz?" I won't do his accents. I get in trouble for doing accents, but I just want John Murray, and then he can go straight from there to the break-in. No, my day. I'll go home. I won't even go to the boxing or the taekwondo. I'll just go and put my feet up.
Let's set that as a challenge for him this afternoon. Climbing and breaking updates. It is. I know we always do this during the Olympics. We then put our own amateur sports stories in whilst watching really difficult, complicated, elite athletes at their best. But there are a couple of climbing walls in Manchester, and I have been a couple of times. It is seriously I mean, I could barely get it won't surprise you, barely get 4 feet off the ground on it. It's so hard.
A lot to do with weight. I mean, if you see the climbers, they've got like 25-inch waist, okay? They've got tiny ankles, they've got enormous shoulders, and they've got hands. They could almost hold you, lift you up by their hands. And that's why. So no disrespect, Chappers. You're still slim. Okay, I'm going to let you in a secret. I might have lost 2 stone during COVID, but I'm still never going to be a climber. Let's get that absolutely right. I cannot hang by my fingertips for 32 seconds and then contemplate another 7 metres of ascending. That's not happening.
The other thing, from meeting Toby Robertson and his dad last night and talking to them, some of the stuff that they have to think about that you wouldn't normally consider yourself. So you look at it and you think, oh, you must have a gymnastic background, you must do a lot of strength, and conditioning and flexibility and so on and so forth. One of the hardest things they were saying, both on air and off air last night, is managing skin sensitivity around the hands, because each thing that they grip onto is like holding sandpaper, basically. So if if Toby has a really difficult training session, the tips of his fingers are all blistered and wow. and red raw. So then they have to give it a couple of days, and they know how to treat it and the various things and stuff, a couple of days before he's then able to go again.
I wonder, like not in all sports, but in some sports you can come to them a bit later in life, and I just wonder if you can start climbing at 15, 16 or 17. I mean, like it's tough to start gymnastics then, it's tough to start swimming then, it's tough to start anything then, really. But I have a feeling that this is from the cradle. I have a feeling they're stuck on walls when they're babies.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of his quotes last night was the first thing he climbed was his cot to get out of it, and he was doing this from the age of 6 or 7. Back to Maz.
McNeice has been moved down to bronze medal position. A good lead climb from America's Brooke Rebutu of 72.0, putting her in gold medal position at the moment, a total of 156. So Erin McNeice, with her points total of 127.6, down to bronze medal position at the moment, with 2 climbers and the 2 best performing climbers, because they are obviously going last and second last on this wall. They are still to attempt their lead climb.
And this is it, and then we're done.
This is it, and then we're done. But the big favourite will go up last, and that's Janja Garbret, who's an absolute superstar in climbing, which obviously I've been getting to know quite well over the last few days.
So we'll keep updating with Maz on those final 2. Megan Metro, who was joint leader of the golf has just bogeyed to drop back to 7 under. In fact, and she's begun her round today bogey. So a 5 on the first and a 4 on the second, and not the start that she would have wanted, particularly with some of the big guns circling. Taekwondo then, Bunsey.
Yeah, well, this morning, thankfully, Rebecca McGowan and Caden Cunningham came through their round of 16 contest. Rebecca looked particularly good, but there again, perhaps it was the opposition. She came through on the outclass rule, as far as I can make out, twice, which means that you get to a certain point. You get 12 points in front, and that's it. It's all over. So she won the first 2 rounds by 12 points clear against the beautifully named Venice Elizabeth Megan Trow from Fiji. That's terrific. She's the Oceania champion, and she lasted a couple of minutes at the Olympics. But it's the experience that she'll take back. Let's get that absolutely right. They both go this afternoon, and from what I can work out, chappers, because Taekwondo's my every 4-year sport. I think they've both got tough afternoons. Svetlana Osipova is going to be fighting Rebecca of Uzbekistan, and Uzbekistan, we're now starting to understand, they're kings at anything where you hit people, and I really mean that. Hey, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, Lena, let's get it right. They're not in the badminton field, are they? You know what I'm saying? You give them wrestling, judo, taekwondo or boxing, bosh, they're super duper. And Caden is up against it again, against a nation of men and women that like to hit people. He's up against a particularly experienced Cuban called Rafael Alba, who's 30 and seems to have been around forever. Won a world championship, I believe, or a medal when he was just 19, which is odd.
Did you, speaking of sort of hitting people or a little bit of argy-bargy, did you see the beach volleyball last night between Brazil and Canada? Brazil's women and Canada's women, who had I mean, I've never seen that in beach volleyball
Never,
before.
ever.
Proper, through the net, pointing at each other, shouting at each other. Like it was a brick wall, that's what I liked. It was absolutely brilliant. And then the DJ played John Lennon Imagine. Oh. Everybody burst out laughing, and they got on with it again. He diffused it.
You know what? That's going to compete with the Swedish pole vaulter who set the world record like an hour after the events had stopped, like 2 a.m. in the morning. I mean, literally it was, wasn't it? It's going to compete with that, with the oddity. Because, in all fairness, I've seen some good things at these Olympics, and I've missed one or two, but missing that Imagine in a beach volleyball face-off fight. Oh, and what's more, it's 200 metres from my bedroom. I'd like to say I could hear the commotion. I'm lying. I'd love to have been there and watched it.
I'd love to see that in the football this afternoon. I don't know. If it all goes off after 20 minutes between Cardiff and Sunderland on the pitch. Ian Carter at the golf.
Very tight here, and a nervous start, as you were saying, Mark, for Morgan Metre, the world number 137 from Switzerland. She drove into the water at the first to make bogey there, and then missed a short putt for her par at the second. So she's back to 7 under par alongside the Chinese player Ruoning Yin, former US PGA champion, former world number 1. Another former world number 1, Lydia Ko, is in a share of the lead. She's just made par at the second with Miyu Yamashita of Japan, who has picked up a shot early on, birdie at the first. Not been too many of those throughout this competition, and she's just parred the second. So Yamashita at 8 under par as well. But watch out for Nelly Korda. She's made just the start that she needs, and she's the one player with a real firepower who could potentially go low in the way that Scotty Scheffler did in the men's competition. She's picked up 2 shots in her first 3 holes, 6 under par, and the defending champion within 2 shots of the lead.
I suppose, that's the difference between having that sort of aura and how people look at you in the respect in how Korda started and how Metro has started, I suppose. Exactly.
Metro has exceeded all expectations so far. She's played on adrenaline. She had a fantastic finish last night with an eagle at the last, which suddenly catapulted her back into a share of the lead with Lydia Ko at 9 under par. Whereas Nelly Korda just hasn't, we talked about it yesterday, didn't we, the sort of roller coaster that she's been on. I mean, the number of short putts that she has missed, and that will be a worry as the round develops here. But having said that, someone who won 6 tournaments in 7, including a major at the start of the year, has won Olympic gold before and has the length off the tee to cope with this golf course, that makes her very dangerous. So too her US compatriot Rose Zhang, who's started very steadily, 2 very accomplished pars to be at 7 under and be within a shot of the lead.
Ian, thank you. Obviously, updates on that throughout the course of the afternoon, and we're going to go back to Maz Faruqi for some disappointing news, Maz.
Yes, Jessica Pils of Austria, the penultimate climber attempting this lead wall, has done really, really well. She's almost all the way up to the top, in fact. She's got a lead point score of 80, which has moved her up into second position and has moved Great Britain's Erin McNeice out of medals. She is fourth with one climber still to attempt this wall, the 8-time world champion Janja Garnbret still to go, the defending Olympic champion. She will be a big favourite, but Erin McNeice not able to back up Toby Roberts' gold medal performance yesterday, and GB just out of the medals in this climbing final.
Maz, thank you. So the EFL weekend is up and running. As I say, because of this new TV deal, things are going to be a little bit more staggered from now on. And for the opening weekend, I think every single game can be seen on television. So for that reason, we've got games kicking off here, there and everywhere. Championship at 12:30 today. League 2 at 3 o'clock, League 1 at 5:30, but there were games last night. Blackburn beat Derby by 4-2 in the Championship. It finished Preston 0, Sheffield United 2. Good start for Mansfield in League 1, winning away at Barnsley 2-1. And in League 2, Chesterfield, promoted from the National League this season and back, they drew 1-1 with Swindon. There were a couple of games in the Scottish Championship last night. Ayr absolutely walloped Airdrie 5-0, finished Queen's Park 1, Livingston 1. Former Wycombe and QPR manager Gareth Ainsworth is with us this afternoon for the start of our EFL coverage. Afternoon, how are you?
Afternoon, chappers. How are you doing? Talking about all that climbing, my arms are hurting just talking about it, I tell you.
Are there obviously football, I get that. Are there other Olympic sports here that you participate in as an amateur, or none of them?
No, I was always a sprinter, so anyone who watches me play, the only reason I made it was I was quick. I was quicker than a lot of people. I could knock that ball and get to it quicker than anyone else. So a little bit of athletics training when I was young, but they train so hard, by the way, these athletes, it's compared to our pre-seasons, they are absolutely magnificent. So proud watching them out there. So
and also the other thing, Gareth, which you will appreciate, for you guys, there's always another game, as in within a few days. And I know there are still highs and lows, but there's always that opportunity to put it right. The difference in pressure for a lot of these men and women, that it is just, this is it, every 4 years. And it might rest on literally 10 seconds of their life for 4 years' work.
Honestly, at 4 years' wait to put something right. When things go wrong on a Saturday as a manager, I can't wait for Tuesday, never mind 4 years, So, like you say, the pressure, the moment is so important for these guys out and girls out there, and it's been an absolute pleasure watching them and seeing the medal haul that we've had this year. It's been fabulous, and you can actually feel the emotion, sometimes when you see these athletes, when they're crying, when they're elated, it's just been brilliant. It's been a brilliant watch, and but as you say, day 15 there, we're in day 2 now of the championship season, so
day 2 of the championship.
We've got a long way to go, but I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so who's going to get promoted? No, I won't ask you that. No, but Blackburn made a good start last night, didn't they?
Yeah, and being a Blackburn lad, I was pleased to see that.
That's why I'm starting with them. That's why I'm starting with them.
No, I think it was an awakening for Derby. The gap, I can testify, that gap between League One and the Championship is huge, and Blackburn, John Eustace last night, 3 subs he put on, and all 3 subs scored within 20 minutes, and Sammy Smodic obviously was bound to score, but he also gave an assist as well. It was a great game, and as I say, I think Derby will learn a lot of lessons from that, but Blackburn looks strong, a young side, very energetic, and some real good signings, so hopefully they can hold their own. And just down the road, obviously Preston lost to Sheffield United, and Chris Wilder looks like he's got his team together as well. So when you say about champions, maybe there's one there. He knows his way out of this league, and there was a fantastic goal in that by Gus Hamer.
Well, he's also Chris Wilder made a very big thing about this is a fresh start, fresh beginning. Including for him, really, it's almost as if he wants to wipe the period of time that he was in charge last season. As that wasn't really him, or wasn't really his side, hadn't really managed to put the work in, so on and so forth. This is it. This is where they start again.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because I think it ended not great a few years ago with Sheffield United. No, he did all that work, got them to the Premier League. They were sort of top 6 at one stage, playing this new 3 at the back system, and then it sort of ended quite abruptly and quite badly. And then last season, but I've been in that position. I know what that's like. That was tough. And when you inherit someone's team like that and try and keep them up, just didn't make it at the end. I agree with him. I think that he's got to say now, this is a fresh start. Let's wipe that slate clean. And really, that was a great result last night. And I think he's signed very well in the window. And I think Sheffield United are bound to be there and thereabouts come the end of the year.
Gareth with us for the course of the first couple of hours of this afternoon. Let's go round all the 12:30 games we are at. In total at 12:30, there are 8. Let's start at Elland Road. So here we have side who could have been promoted to the Premier League but lost in the playoff final against a side promoted to the Championship. Leeds against Portsmouth. Charlie Slater.
Afternoon, Mark. Nice way to kick things off for this season. All the talk here is surely that this is Leeds' year. After all, they became the first team this century to reach 90 points and not be promoted last time around. Daniel Farke's still got a raft of talent to choose from, despite Gray and Somerville heading for the Premier League. 7 of today's 11 started at Wembley in May, a debut for Jayden Bogle. There are 4 debutants in the Portsmouth side, with Williams, Dazelle, Silvera and Sorensen all getting a run out in Pompey's first match back in the Championship for 12 years. And welcome backs don't get much tougher than Leeds away.
Johannes Hoff-Torup takes charge of his first Norwich game this afternoon. They are at newly promoted Oxford, with Des Buckingham, born in Oxford, leading out his hometown club for their first game at this level since 1999. Our canoe expert, John Akers, is going to try his hand at football this afternoon.
Welcome to coverage of my second sport on 5 Live. It's such a lovely story, this one, isn't it? A hometown boy sitting in the dugout at the ground where he used to stand with his family as a kid. Oxford United in the Championship for the first time this millennia. That was the last time, then, 99, that they were in the second tier. A sellout on their return. I met Des Buckingham, the manager, just before kick-off, just before 12:30. Really nice fella. He took them up into the playoffs with that superb win over Bolton. Survival is the aim, obviously, and he is raring to go.
It feels really good. I think there's been so much work that's done, certainly before I got here, but over the last couple of decades to get us back to this level of football. You know, whether it be managers or players. This club spent a lot of time, you know, from 86, from exiting the Football League in 96, gone back in 2010, to now get back to where we've all been working to get to. There's been so many people that have contributed to get us here. So to now walk out and about to kick off is one we've all been very much looking forward to since that full-time whistle at Wembley.
And what do you think young Des would have thought, you know, if you were talking to him now, being here as a kid, being here as a coach? You know, how do you think that he would have felt about you being here now doing this?
I don't think he'd have believed it to an extent. I said it's, you know, he's talked about family that used to bring us up here. You know, some of them aren't with us anymore, unfortunately, but you know, you get my dad certainly telling me how proud certain members of the family would have been. And you know, I used to sit in these stands as a fan. I used to coach at this club for 10 years before I went overseas. So look, to now be on the sideline, whether it be at Wembley or now leading us into the Championship, extremely proud moment, and hopefully one that we can continue having success with.
And you'll be hoping you can take a bit of that momentum from League One and carry it into today. Not an easy start for you, but you'll be raring to go and they'll be giving it their all, I guess.
Yeah, there's no easy starts in this league, wherever you end up playing, home or away. But like I said, we won't back down. That won't scare us to an extent. Like I said, we have to be smart about what we do and how we do it. But look, it's an exciting challenge ahead.
Yeah, really lovely story for 39-year-old Oxford boy Des Buckingham today, and despite making 12 signings this summer, 8 of the Oxford team that played in the playoff final start today. Norwich, meanwhile, after a playoff spot again, they lost to Leeds in the semi-finals in May and sacked David Wagner, and they've appointed 35-year-old Johannes Hoff-Torup, who did well in the Danish league last season. He's brought in highly rated Manchester City defender Callum Doyle on loan, who spent some time on loan at Leicester City last season. He starts as the fireworks go off. Oxford back in the Championship.
Next we'll go to Loftus Road, find out what the optimism is around there ahead of this season. season with Marty Cifuentes in charge for the start of the campaign. Carlos Colbron's West Brom are the visitors. Aaron Paul.
Yeah, both sides and both managers will be hoping to building on differing campaigns that they experienced last season. Marty Cifuentes, actually I found out it's Marty Cifuentes, we've been pronouncing it wrong all this time, and QPR, they finished their campaign strongly. For Albion, the playoffs will be the aim, but will no doubt be a more difficult proposition this time around. For both though, it's about retaining that playing identity. To the teams, QPR welcomed summer signings Paul Nardi and Zancella into their starting 11s, with Jonathan Varane, brother of Raphael, on the bench. Torborn Hegen begins at fullback for West Brom.
Hull City missed out on the playoffs last season, so that means the Turkish owners removed Liam Rosenior as manager. They start this season at home to Bristol City. Shojo Saka.
Yes, those ambitions will have to be realised under a new manager. The German Tim Walter replaced Rosenior over the summer. The aim for Hull obviously remains a top 6 finish, despite quite a turnover of players during the off-season. New signing Marvin Melem starts. Another new arrival, the Canada international Liam Miller, only joined yesterday, so he starts on the bench. Bristol City come here on the opening day for the second time in 3 seasons. Manager Liam Manning's had half a season now and a summer transfer window to get his squad in order. He gives debuts to 2 new signings, midfielder Max Bird and striker Sinclair Armstrong.
Now Middlesbrough had a great run in the League Cup last season, getting to the semi-finals. Michael Carrick's men begin this season at home to Swansea. Sunny Rajavajala.
Well, Borough 8th last campaign. They finished with only 1 defeat in 12, and after scoring 9 in his final 8, Emmanuel Latte-Laf again leads the line. Defender Luke Ayling has the armband after his permanent move, and there's a debut too for the USA's Aidan Morris in midfield. A new forward for Borough, Delano Bergsog, he's on the bench. Luke Williams for Swansea to finish 14th. All the 3 top scorers from last season have gone. The new number 9, Zan Zipotnik, is a sub, but he's giving debuts to keeper Lawrence Figueroa. In the midfield, Portuguese Gonzalo Franco, and wide man from South Korea, Yom Ji-sung. We're back, and the Riverside is ready.
To the Cardiff City Stadium next. Cardiff against Sunderland. Molly Stevens.
Happy new season, Mark, and of course it's absolutely pouring down with rain in South Wales mid-August. Cardiff have done some shrewd business so far this summer, but you could argue that their best signing of the season is their manager Errol Bullett, who's in the dugout for his 2nd season after lengthy contract talks. He hands debuts to new signings Callum Chambers and Chris Willock this afternoon. Regis Lebris has gone with the same starting 11 that played in their friendly draw against Marseille as he takes charge of his first competitive match. Summer signing Alan Brown makes his competitive debut and brings some much needed experience.
We'll go to Stoke next. Mark Robbins, Coventry are the visitors here. Afternoon, Lee Blakeman.
Hello, Mark. Coventry missed out in the playoff final the season before last. They narrowly missed out on the playoffs altogether last season, having probably been distracted by that great FA Cup run. So the top 6 very much the target for them this time around. Stoke haven't finished in the top half since dropping out of the Premier League 6 years ago, so anything close to the top 6 would be considered an improvement here. Both teams have made 5 summer signings and both hand debuts to 3 players today. Coventry to Oliver Dovin, Jack Radoni and Ephron Mason-Clark. Brandon Thomas Asante is on the bench, while Stoke start Victor Johansson, Eric Bocat and Ben Gibson. Stoke signed Lewis Kumas, son of Jason, on a season-long loan from Liverpool this morning, therefore too late to make the squad today, and we're just about to kick off.
Also at 12:30 at the Den, it's Millwall against Watford. Neil Harris and Tom Cleverley in charge of those 2 clubs, both in charge of their former clubs actually. So Millwall, Watford is at the Den. We'll bring you the goals as they go in throughout the course of the afternoon. Let's go to Ian Carter and the women's golf, where we may have an outright leader, Ian.
Yes, Lydia Ko at the par 5 third over this short birdie putt, looking to take advantage of it. Silver in Rio, bronze in Tokyo. She wants the full set and she knocks it in and takes the outright lead at 9 under par. So into the gold medal position for the New Zealander, who, if she wins here, Mark, will go automatically into the LPGA's Hall of Fame. It's been something she's been asked about an awful lot over recent times. She's heartily sick of it, I think. She just wants to get it out the way, and she is all systems go for gold and leads here at 9 under par by 1.
Do you have to qualify then for the PGA Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's done on rankings, numbers of tournaments that you win. It's not like a Hall of Fame where a committee will sit and decide who should be admitted. So there is an entry criteria, and she is just one big tournament away and has been for quite a while for eligibility. But she'd do it at the age of 27. She was the youngest world number one. In many respects, if you were voting on it, you'd say she'd be a Hall of Fame member already, if that sort of thing's important to you. And anyway, if she wins today, it will be job done.
We also have cricket going on today, as well as the football and as well as the Olympics. It's the 100 Southern Brave against Trent Rockets. Daniel Norcross.
Well, the Southern Brave are the defending champions, but they're not going to qualify for the knockout stages, and they're having a pretty terrible day today. The Trent Rockets made 155 for 7 in their 100 balls. Nat Silverbrunt, an unbeaten 60. She's now the leading run scorer in the tournament, averaging nearly 90. And the Southern Brave has made about as bad a start as you could hope for. Danny Wyatt out first ball, caught by Wraith off the bowling of Stonehouse, and then Maya Boucher out second ball, both of them out for a duck. 5 for 2, 7 balls have been bowled. Nothing on it but pride for the Southern Brave, but for the Trent Rockets, a win here would get them back into qualification contention. 5 for 2, 7 balls have been bowled, chasing 156.
Sports Extra, if you want to listen to that. Gareth Ainsworth with us for the start of the opening weekend of the EFL. Julien Laurent alongside me in our Parisian cafe. I've just got my video printer up on my phone for the goals as they go in, so that I can bring them to everybody. And on your phone, you're following point by point the volleyball.
The volleyball final.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's massive. The French are in the final to make it on back-to-back Olympic champion titles.
Men,
yeah. Which will be special against Poland, who are very, very good at volleyball.
Right, well. Okay. And this is, and was that the first point of the first set?
Of the second set. France have won the first set,
right.
Hence my
okay.
And they're leading in the second set as well.
I'm not sure I want to do point-by-point updates of the men's volleyball.
It's okay,
I love it.
I'll show you.
I've really enjoyed the men's. I've watched some of the men's volleyball. It's a very entertaining sport to watch.
It is amazing. I mean, so obviously beach volley and indoors are two almost different sports, but I think, and we've done a lot of sport together in the venues, in the arenas, I think the volleyball is the best atmosphere I've literally ever experienced. It's been something else in this tournament. Because whether you support the two teams who are in the arena or not, the points are so spectacular because when you defend and there's smashes going all around and it's so good to watch that I think you get very excited and pumped for it, regardless of who's playing.
Well, Joe, two weeks ago, I can't believe it's 2 weeks ago, it was Germany-Japan.
Oh, yeah, remember we discussed
Germany-Japan, men's volleyball. Japan are the world ranked number 2 team.
Yes.
Germany were the outsiders. That went to 5 sets. It was Saturday morning, 9 a.m., opening day of the Olympics, and the place was rammed. There wasn't a spare seat for Germany-Japan in the men's volleyball.
And it was rocking. And this is what our sports... And I really believe that a sport like volleyball is underappreciated by a lot of people. And okay, maybe we go back to what we were saying about what's the culture in your country in terms of individual sports. What
you're trying to say is underappreciated by you English Neanderthals. That's what you're trying to say.
That's not what I'm saying. You've got cricket that a lot of other people underappreciate. But I think volleyball in a lot of countries it's just not really appreciated like it should, because it's an amazing sport and it's so spectacular and so much fun to watch on television, or even better if you can go to the arenas.
It's quite fun to play as well, actually, volleyball. Not beach volleyball if it's just 2 of you, because that's really tiring, and depending on who you're playing with more than anything else. But actual volley, if there's 4 or 5 of you on each side, that's fun.
It's great, and you still need a couple of tall guys to be able to, go over the net and be able to smash. But yeah, it's a fantastic sport to play and to watch as well, and it's been one of the highlights of the games.
Well, we're going to go to Ellen Road. I don't know whether Charlie Slater wants to talk to us about volleyball or whether something's happened between Leeds and Portsmouth.
I'll chat to you about anything, Mark, but let's start with football, because Leeds have hit the bar twice in the opening 5 minutes of this game. First of all, Gnonto has hit the bar. He might be on the move, but not just yet. Starts today, hits the bar from close range, and from the resulting corner, Ampadu at the back post has then hit the bar and it's been cleared off the line. All Leeds here in the early stages. They have it again with Gnonto. Another corner on the way, 0-0.
And to another promoted side, Oxford, who are at home to Norwich. John Akers.
And they started really well, Oxford. It's Oxford 0, Norwich 0, but Mark Harris should have put them ahead. Ball rolled across the area. He's 2 yards out. Just has to get anything on it to bundle it into the net. And he kicked thin air as the ball came across his body, went in between his legs. But they have started well, playing some lovely stuff. Oxford 0, Norwich 0.
And to Ian Carter at the golf.
Bogey for Nelly Corder after that encouraging start, picking up 2 shots early on. The bogey coming at the 5th, missing from 10 feet. So Corder slips back to 5 under par, the defending champion. She trails Lydia Ko by 4, currently in the gold medal position.
Julien Laurent and Gareth Ainsworth are with us this afternoon, opening weekend of the EFL season, and we've got the Olympics going on as well, and the 100 in the cricket. Going back to what it's like, Gareth, when you take a team up to the Championship from League One, and it's a theme we discuss over the course of each season, but that gap from League One to Championship, it is not far off a similar size and a similar challenge to Championship Premier League, isn't it?
No, absolutely, Chappers. Like you say, it's the gap from the Champ to the Premier is huge. We've seen that last year, but Leeds have just hit the post again. I just want to say, I want to steal anyone's thunder, but I'm just watching this one as well. No, the gap is huge from one to the Championship. I'm looking at the Championship this year. I'm doing a bit of prep for today, and I'm looking at the transfers. And they are from all over the world now in the Championship. I'm Australia. I'm Darmstadt. People are signing from the Bundesliga. People are signing from Brazil. It's incredible. And at League One, that just doesn't happen. Although this season, you've got to say League One with containing Birmingham and Wrexham coming up, spending, free spending. Charlton look like they're having to go Huddersfield. So, I mean, I'm just proud of the pyramid. The whole pyramid's getting stronger, and it's really good to see. But you're dead right. The gap is huge, and if you can survive in the Championship after being promoted, your Oxfords, your Portsmouths this year, then they've done sensational.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? That we talk about the financial gap or what the financial difference will be. But actually, in this day and age, I suppose there's a scouting gap and a recruitment gap as well. Because let's say from your point of view, when you were at Wycombe, you are not going to be able, I'm guessing, to afford to scout in Paraguay.
Very educated guess. We could not. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but that's as far as it went, chappers. There's no way, and we're looking at the English clubs, and we were looking, and so we were making the best of what we had. There's no point trying to spread myself around Europe with 2 or 3 scouts. I'm going, right, let's totally focus on the Championship and League One and those players, and that's how we did it. But the money in the game now, the Championship is getting huge. There's millions and millions if you get promoted. You're talking tens of millions. And in League One, you're talking maybe touching $1 million, from the solidarity payments and all that. So that's the gap, it is huge. But
do you have to take a... Because obviously you can get data, can't you? You could be on Y-Scout, for example, and you could see any player in the world virtually on what their data is, and you may get a few clips as well. But but you would then be taking more of a risk because you can't scout them properly, and you're taking a cost risk if you were then going to bring them in compared to, I don't know, a Leeds who would take probably a lot more time and a lot more research over it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always used to cast my eyes. I'd get videos, I'd get scout reports, I'd get stats and data, but I always wanted to cast my eyes on the player himself. So
let me hold it there, Gareth. I'll go to Ellen Road. Leeds have been on the attack for a while, and now Charlie Slater.
They have a penalty. Ball's on the spot. Pascal Strake stands over it with his left foot, finds the bottom corner and gives Leeds United the lead with less than 10 minutes on the clock. The good feeling has returned to Ellen Road. All Leeds irresistible in the opening 9.5 minutes of this game. Welcome back to the Championship, Portsmouth. They trail at Leeds by 1-0.
You've been watching this one, Gareth. Portsmouth have lunged in a few times in that first 10 minutes, haven't they?
Yeah, just what we spoke about there, chappers, the gap, because the speed of play now that I'm watching Leeds, I'm watching them sort of they're not tearing Portsmouth apart, but they're finding gaps. They're finding positions what League One teams just didn't do against Portsmouth, and they are lodging in their last-ditch tackles, But I mean, some of the signings that they've made, Rodon at the back Leeds, he starts today. What a great signing he is, and a lot of money to come in, £10 million. They're really setting their stall down. Rothwell coming on loan from Bournemouth, so they're really going for it again, and I think that watching the game, they thoroughly deserve their 1-0 lead.
Rodon was part of the Archie Gray deal to Tottenham, wasn't he, as well? So, I mean, that was a big loss for them. Yeah,
Gray and Somerville are huge losses, but young players, very young players. Now, I always like my experienced players. I always like the players who knew the way out of the leagues. And I think Daniel Farke has probably looked and said, right, these two are young. They've got great careers ahead of them. Are they going to get me promoted? Are they the ones who mentally can get us over the line? And I think that he's said, no, they can go and get on with their careers. I'm going to bring people in who have seasoned pros, who've got plenty of games under their belt, and these will get us over the line this season, because that must have hurt at Wembley.
The recruitment problems that we're talking to Gareth about, whether that's League One into Championship or Championship into Premier League, do you think, Jules, that's a problem that affects a lot of French clubs?
In a way, yes, it does, and I guess it's all about the financial power that you might have. So again, we have similar issues in France with first and second division. Yeah.
But also,
exactly.
A lot of French clubs will struggle to match the might of some of the Championship
completely.
clubs.
But for example, the one that's really blown me away in the last few days is Jordan James, who did really well at Birmingham, Welsh international, who is on his way to Rennes for €5 million. I mean, nobody in France used to sign players from England. Whatever the league, it's the other way around. You come and you do your market in France. If you're an English club, again, whatever your division and your level. For Rennes to go and have a look into a club that went down from the Championship to League One because they sensed an opportunity there in terms of market and a player like Jordan James, I find that amazing. And this is what a lot of clubs are doing now. Like you've just said, you look, or like Gareth just said, you look so much wider than you used to before. And maybe League One and League Two is different because it's still very much on the English market because they don't have the money to go abroad to scout and to sign players. But certainly for a club like Rennes to be able to go to Birmingham and say, hey, Jordan James, 20 years old, great talent, we want him here, and they would sell him for 30 million in 2 years back to England, somewhere in the Premier League for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it, Gareth? There are a lot of European clubs who will not exploit, use their knowledge and take advantage of the Championship and the League One clubs and their bright young talent, because that bright young talent now realises that by going to Rennes, he's going to play week in, week out.
Absolutely, and that's what's important to people in the Championship. There's only 11 you can pick, and some of these clubs have got 20, 30 players, and they're all really good players. Right? I mean, I've looked at some of the signings. Some of the clubs. Hull City signed an absolute shed load this summer, and they're not going to play. So maybe loaning out, maybe also learning your trade, like you say in Rennes, and then coming back to the Championship or even the Premier League. It's really good. It's really good to see that we're trusted, and the English Championship is looked upon now as players that can play in the top leagues around Europe.
I didn't watch Hull City week in, week out last season, but it does feel like they've gone for a hell of a gamble this summer. And look, it might pay off. But the stability under Liam Rosenior and what he was building, and some of that young talent that they brought in as well, whether it be on loan from Premier League clubs or Philogene, who they signed from Villa, who they've now sold back to Villa. It was interesting what they were building, and now they've kind of gone, right, this is how we're doing it this season.
Huge change. Out of any club in the Championship, I think both manager and squad, they've changed everything, and it's going to be really interesting because personally, and I'm not a football club owner, I don't know the ins and outs of it, it looked like that was quite harsh on Liam Rosenior. I thought he did a good job last year, and they only just missed out. But there's a big turnaround. They've signed players from Basel, they've signed players from Young Boys, they've signed players from, they really have gone worldwide, and it'll be interesting to see how Hull City do this year.
Deadlock has been broken at the home of one of Gareth's former clubs. Aaron Paul.
Lift off for QPR. Gorgeous ball in from Rayan Colley on the left-hand side. He just curled it in on his right foot. And there, arriving late, was Lucas Anderson to just plant the ball with a header past Alex Palmer in the West Brom goal. QPR 1, West Bromwich Albion 0.
And next to the Riverside, Sonny Redravagula.
Well, 17 minutes in and it feels almost inevitable that Middlesbrough will score here. Swansea are playing quite a high line. In fact, Isaiah Jones ended up through on goal from a Swansea corner that the keeper booted forward, and he tried to lob Lawrence Vigouroux in his debut for Swansea, and the ball just bounced wide. They've had a couple more chances since then. They are really pushing the screw here. Jones and Emmanuel Latte-Laf getting a lot of joy against that high line on the wide outside. But yeah, 17 minutes gone, still Middlesbrough 0, Swansea 0.
Any sign of a goal at Stoke? Lee Blakeman.
Very close, because about 10 seconds ago Stoke hit the post. Stoke 0, Coventry 0. This the best chance of the game by a mile. Ball in from the left. It fell to Junior Chamadou with the header 6 yards out. Came back off the inside of the post, and Emre Tezgel couldn't quite get there for the rebound. Stoke 0, Coventry 0.
Let's go to Shoujo Saka next at Hull City, Bristol City.
Hull City 0, Bristol City 0. Sluggish start from Hull, but they should really be in front. Matty Jacob had a volley from 12 yards out. He hit it straight at the keeper. A minute later, Estupinian connected with a cross. Max O'Leary with a great save from close range. Still Hull City 0, Bristol City 0.
And Molly is in the rain in Cardiff.
Yes, I am. What a shock. Cardiff 0, Sunderland 0.
It's going to be a long season,
tomorrow,
Molly, isn't it? It's going to be a long season.
It is, Mark. It is. This is what it's like to be Welsh, eh? Brilliant stuff. Cardiff 0, Sunderland 0. Cardiff have got glimpses of the attack and creativity they've been crying out for. Much more of a threat on goal than Sunderland at the moment. Ollie Tanner whipped in a great cross, and Demetrius Goutas got a great head on it, but it looked to be nettling into the corner. Patterson leaps and tips it away. Goalless for now, but it looks at the moment like Cardiff could break deadlock first here. Curse the commentator.
Every time I look up on one of the screens, I've got, it looks like Norwich are on the attack, John Akers.
Yeah, Oxford and Norwich both in mid-table as it stands. Mark, 0-0 here at the Kazan Stadium early on in the season. They look really good, Oxford. I've got to say, they're playing some really nice stuff. They should be 1-0 ahead. Mark Harris with the best chance of the game so far, just a couple of yards out, just completely missed his kick. But Norwich have grown into it. 65% possession for the home side tells you it all in front of 12,000. A sellout at the Kazan Stadium as Oxford come on the attack again. They're into the area. Low cross put behind for a corner. 0-0.
Thank you very much. So it's day 15 here at the Olympics, and there are 39 gold medals up for grabs. Molly, what were you saying about goals?
Honestly, I knew it as soon as it came out of my mouth. I thought, what have you done there? Right, Cardiff 0. Sunderland 1. But Patrick Roberts with a free kick, which I've got to say looked like it looked way too far wide of the goal at the right hand side. But in fairness, Luke O'Neill was there to make sure he headed into the back of the net, right past the keeper. Wow, yeah, Cardiff 0, Sunderland 1.
It feels like, Gareth, doesn't it, that this is a big season for Sunderland's owners and football group and structure.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed a lot again, you know, and hindsight, you look at Tony Mowbray, what he was doing and what he was putting in place, a fantastic manager, and you know, we all wish him well in his illness, but he seemed to be hard done by, and they haven't regained that stability, they haven't regained that sort of solid hand, you know, as Mowbray was, you know. But Regis Lebris come in, you know. I'm sure he'll be known.
Good
much
pronunciation,
more.
Gareth. Very impressed. Very good pronunciation.
Thank you very much. And he's come in late, as it is in the season, you know, as the window. He came in very late and has managed to sign a couple in, you know, Pavedo and Brown, you know, more coming in, but. He's yet to put some sort of philosophy down. We don't know how he's going to play. He says he wants to play in the way that he loves. We've yet to see that, but obviously I'm privy to the replays here, and it's a set piece that's opened the deadlock there. It came in, and as Molly said, Lee Conan with a powerful header into the goal.
They had a long time though, didn't they, to get this appointment, and you wonder. We all read the similar things. You wonder how many others or what they were trying before they left it as they did.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk, chappers, about is interference too much, too big of a word? There was a lot of talk from behind the scenes, what was going on, directors of football getting involved, and that was going right back to the sort of Lee Johnson days, a couple of 2-3 years ago. So whether that was something that other managers, bigger managers, were thinking, I don't really fancy that job, I don't want to get involved with any of that. But obviously they've picked their man. I think it's a club that picks the manager to suit the club rather than the club to change to the manager. I think Mr. Labrie will come in and he will be sort of involved in the workings, Christian Speakman behind the scenes, how he runs the club. So, I mean, the proof is always in the pudding. It's always in the results. It's always how the team play, and we're going to see. But so far, so good for them.
Combining the Olympics with the opening weekend of the EFL season, got Scottish football as well. Of course, that started last weekend. Let's get a volleyball update, Julien Laurent.
And Chapman, the French have taken the second set. You'll be delighted to know. 25-20 against Poland. So they're 2 sets up now, first to 3. So it's looking good for retaining this incredible gold medal.
Happily had the golf on one of my monitors, just monitoring that, knowing when I should go to Ian for what story was developing. Look at my phone for a goal update. Look up again, and the golf has changed to the volleyball. So I have no idea what's going on in the golf. Ian Carter.
Sorry, Ian. Sorry.
Lydia Ko still out in front. She's just parred the 4th, so at 9 under par it's the New Zealander, and then 2 players sharing the silver medal position. So if we get into that scenario, then we could have medal playoffs later on. Ruoning Yin, last year's winner of the PGA Championship, the Women's PGA Championship. She's 4 under par today to surge to 8 under par, the Chinese player. And the Japanese player, Maya Yamashita, is 1 under for the 5 holes she's played. So she's at 8 under par as well. Plays almost exclusively on the Japanese tour, but was second at the Women's PGA recently. So in form and in contention, 1 shot off the lead.
Just the other thing with the volleyball is at the moment, when you look at the medal table, so Britain are in 5th. They have 14 golds, 20 silvers and 23 bronzes, gives them a total of 57 medals. Yeah. The French are in 6th, 14 golds, 20 silvers and 22 bronze with 56 medals. So if they get the gold in the volleyball, it takes them above Britain into 5th, which, depending on who you talk to, seems to be one of the most important things that's going here for the French at the Olympics, to beat the British. Sadi Rajavajula.
Penalty for Middlesbrough. It's Emmanuel Latte-Laff for Borough, who's got the ball on the spot. He's facing Lawrence Vigarou in the Swansea goal. Vigarou keeps himself still in all yellow on the line. Laff, and he scores. Side foots it beyond the goalkeeper. He scored 9 in 8 at the back of last season, and he's got off to a flyer. 25 minutes gone. It's Middlesbrough 1, Swansea City 0.
Let's go back to Aaron Paul watching QPR West Brom.
Rangers so close to a second. It is QPR 1, West Bromwich Albion 0. Lucas Anderson, the goal scorer, trying to turn the creator, flying down the right hand side, getting to the 18-yard line, picking out Paul Smith. The defender intercepted it, but it still fell to Smith. He maybe just had a bit too much time to place his shot. He placed it towards the corner. Easy save for Alex Palmer up the other end, and Darnell Furlong has spurned a chance from yards out to try and grab West Brom an equaliser. How he has, I don't know. Didn't quite get any purchase on his effort. It remains QPR 1, West Bromwich Albion 0.
Portsmouth are back in the Championship. Charlie Slater.
And back in the game. 23 minutes on the clock. Leeds 1, Portsmouth 1. Great ball from Pack. Down the inside left, found Elias Sorensen on his debut. Takes no chances from an angle around 10 yards out. Blasts it past Ilya Melier before he could really even move. Good equaliser. Welcome back to the Championship indeed. 1-1.
That's a great ball, isn't it, Gareth Ainsworth?
Yeah, fantastic, and it's a great strike. What a finish as well on your debut. So no, they've really got back into it. I think that this game's amazing, chappers. Honestly, that Leeds was so on top until they scored, and then after they scored, they sort of sit back again. And we saw it in the Euros a lot. Teams seem to score, and then instead of keep doing what they were doing, they sit back and let the opposition come at them, and that's exactly what's happened. And Portsmouth have said, "Thank you very much. We'll take that."
Yeah, and Leeds themselves did it at times. last season, didn't they? I mean, there are so many games that I can think where I watched Leeds and they had so many chances and they didn't take them. We'll come back to that point in a moment. Aaron Paul.
QPR 1, West Bromwich Albion 1. They were knocking on the door, and Josh Maja has broken the season deadlock for West Bromwich Albion. It's a great header planted past Paul Nardi, the new QPR goalkeeper. Got a paw on it, he couldn't quite keep it out. It's a fantastic header from the Albion number 9. It's QPR 1, West Bromwich Albion 1.
And that's the point of just going back to Leeds, Gareth, isn't it? When they click and take their chances, they can demolish anybody, but it's taking them.
Absolutely, and anyone who watched the playoff final, the first 15 minutes, everyone would thought Leeds, Nanto, Somerville, they were terrorising, and the longer that game went, the more Southampton got into it, got a hold on the game, and deservedly went through. But it's something in football that as a manager, it does frustrate you, because your boys seem to score, and then you're thinking, right, more and more, keep doing the same thing. But they sit back, they go, right, we've 1-0 up here, we'll sit back, we'll defend this lead, and it's the wrong thing sometimes. But honestly, if there's anyone who has the magic formula of keeping them going, then I'll have it, because they're worth a fortune. But and I know we've got no one at Millwall Watford. I think Watford have scored direct from a corner. I've just seen that. So that's Kayembe in the midfielder takes a left-footed corner, bends it in a right, and it's gone directly in the goal. So anyone who is a Watford fan, that's 1-0 to them, and Millwall really should have defended that better. I don't know what the keeper's doing. He gets caught really badly at the near post there.
Well, that'll do for me, Gareth. Thank you very much. I was just about to give that update. If you do that, if you keep doing that, it means I can concentrate on the volleyball.
I'm trying to watch 8 games at once here, but it's going okay so far.
We're going to book you every Saturday at this rate. That'll be brilliant. And there's a goal at Oxford, John Akers.
And it's for newly promoted Oxford United. Mark Harris with his first goal in the Championship after scoring 15 in League One last season. Picked it up on the left-hand side, cut in on his right, took a little deflection through the legs of the defender and bobbled across the line. Oxford 1, Norwich City 0.
You will know from your time as a player, Gareth, and also as a manager, if you keep faith with your number 9 who's got you goals in League One and then get promoted, the quicker they are off the mark, the better.
Honestly, last season we played Oxford. I was QPR manager obviously at the start of the season last year, and we played them in a pre-season friendly, and he was different class, Mark Harris. What a signing from Cardiff. Nobody had seen that really in him, but as you say, Des Buckingham, again, they've signed a lot. Des has really he set his stall out and said, right, I'm not sitting, I'm not going to just have faith in the ones that got us out of League One, because this is a different level. But Mark Harris is one who got him out of League One, and I think he's got Championship in him. It's a good finish. He gets a little deflection through the keeper's legs, but it's a great finish, and like you say, sticking with him pays dividends.
You can't sign everybody, but after you play someone in a pre-season friendly and then you signing looks amazing, do you go into the office the day after and go, was he on our radar? How did we miss him?
Yeah,
do you?
Well, we talked about scouting earlier, and honestly, I have signed players, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 players who've played against us really well, and I've remembered them and I've kept them in the memory. Maybe not on the Monday morning, because the chairman might be saying, well, he should not have scored that many goals against you or something like that. I might be in trouble and still reeling from the defeat, but definitely you take a note, and sometimes you can have a slight go at your scouts saying, look, why has this boy never been flagged up? Because he was absolutely brilliant against us on Saturday, and that definitely opens up avenues of signing players. Yep, so players who played against you, done well, they always stick in their memory, and I've done that more than once, believe me.
The most famous one is obviously Cristiano Ronaldo.
Exactly, yeah.
And Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson in that friendly pre-season game where I think he was already on a lot of big teams' radar, but he did so well in that game that I think even the players went to see Sir Alex and said, listen, we need to sign this guy. He's incredible at 17.
And then Fergie shut him in a cupboard until he signed or something. But he didn't. He stuck to him until he put pen to paper. Just staying on the football theme, but combining it with the Olympics. I was walking through Paris last night, a completely different area to where we are now, and where actually I don't think there are any real Olympic venues out past past Place de la République and Le Marie, and that was lovely round there. Really nice.
Side,
But every single bar and cafe over there had the football on. Didn't have the athletics on from the Stade de France. It had the football on for the men's final of France against Spain, which was an unbelievable game.
It was really
5-3
amazing.
in the
5-3 in the end. After extra time, it was 3-3 at the end of normal time. Spain were 3-1 up, and the French came back in that second half late, 79th and 93rd minute to get into extra time. And in the end, I think that maybe there was a little bit more quality from Spain overall, and they'd been a better team than France. But for Thierry Henry and the players and the boys, it was a shame to finish that way. It's still a silver medal, it's still great, but when you're so close to the gold and to an incredible journey, really, it's been 40 years since France have been waiting for a gold medal in football at the Olympics, so they were so close. I can see why they were heartbroken, but nevertheless, it was an incredible journey altogether that I think a lot of the players and Thierry himself would have learned a lot from.
What does it show about the strength and depth of the French youngsters then?
I think it showed. I mean, Michael.
They're not all youngsters, obviously.
No,
I mean, Alexandre
23.
Lacazette is still
True.
in there, but there are a lot of under-23s.
Yeah, and we saw, for example, Guillaume Rest in goal, who's 19, one of the youngest player in this tournament, outstanding. We saw Désiré Doué, who was a bit of a super sub, the Rennes attacking midfielder, who a lot of Premier League clubs are looking at because he's electric with the ball at his feet. So for some of them, it was an incredible tournament. And I think for Thierry, and I know we talked about him before the start of the game, saying that he was one of the faces, which he was and is. But it was really interesting to see him in this tournament, how he changed so much when he became a manager first. And maybe Gareth, you had the same experience as a manager. Thierry was still a player when he became a manager, if you see what I mean. So his mentality was still at training. He got frustrated when they could not do one of his drills. So he said, okay, give me the ball. I'll show you how we do this, which is obviously completely counterproductive. And I think now he realized that maybe even in his own mind, he's moved on from being a player. He's made the, this is over for him. Now he knows he's a proper manager, and his attitude has changed, because before he was still very much a player, more than a manager, and he was still better than a lot of the players that he had as well, which was part of the problem too.
Julian, the mentality it's really, really important that you change, honestly, from a player to a manager. I went through this at Wycombe, and I wasn't great in the first couple of years at Wycombe, believe me. We almost went out of the Football League, and then the moment I became gaffer, the moment I turned my mind into, right, that's gone now, and this is a new job. And it is a new job, it's a total new job, and it was brilliant to see Thierry. I played against him. What a great guy, and I mean, they were so close. Camelo's double in extra time was I mean, it was super, it was brilliant, but but it was great to see someone like Michael Olise as well playing for the French team, and how big an impact he had on the Premier League last year. So, but yeah, Thierry becoming a really, really good coach, a really good manager. I'm sure we're going to see him at the top for a long time now.
Will he be? Well, he will be, won't he? A valid contender to take over from Deschamps whenever that happens.
Yeah, I think so.
Because he's in the system.
He's in the system, and we saw with Lee Carsley, for example. We saw with De La Fuente in Spain. So it happens more and more that your under-21 is definitely one of your contenders when your A team needs a head coach. Will he wait 2 years? Because Deschamps will be at least 2 years after the 2026 World Cup. I'm not sure. We're not even sure if he will continue with the under-21 and go to the under-21 Euros next summer, for which the team and him have qualified already, because I think there will be clubs, especially in England, who will come knocking very soon now. Because I think he showed that he's very much more, as we said, the kind of manager that you expected him to be when he started, and where he wasn't ready at the time. Now he's very ready, I think.
Can you see a situation where the first Premier League club to think we need to make a change here, make a move on Henry?
100%. I really believe so. And I think the name is obviously something big, and the name got him this job with France. This is why they didn't get him in because of what he did in MLS or at Monaco before, because those two experiences were not positive enough. They got him in because of his name, and I think this will still be an appeal for anybody. But now he can showcase what he did here in the Olympics, which is very different. International football is very different to club football. However, he did some really good things with his squads and with the under-21s as well before.
Well, the other thing, Gareth, as well is, he has the name, and obviously he has the career as a player. the coaching path he followed and the coaching badges he did were through the Wales side? Through the Welsh side of things. So he's gone in and done the hard. I know every coach probably needs to now, and it's a requirement, but he's done the hard yards as well.
Yeah, he's done his graft, as you say, Monaco and Montreal. Like not great, but he's had a. If you look at his results, he's had a steady incline through everything he's done on the coaching side, and that's great. Somebody's going to get him at the top level. The other thing that Thierry Henry brings is when Thierry Henry rings you and says, "Do you want to come and play for me?" That's a big pull, That's a huge pull for anyone. It really is, And I don't care who you are, but when that phone call happens, a team will think, you know what, he's going to be great for recruitment. He's on the up. He's on the incline. Now, I think it'd be a great appointment for the. I think it could be Championship. I'm not sure Premier League is there yet. I think Championship, like the Rooney's, the Carricks of the world. I think that he could cut his teeth there, but. Definitely got a great future in coaching, and like I say, it's brilliant to see him persevere, do the badges the right way, and hopefully get some good results.
Opening weekend of the EFL, couple of championship games last night. Sheffield United winning at Preston, and Blackburn beat Derby by 4 goals to 0. 4 goals to 2. They said 4 goals canoe then. I am really properly combining everything. There are 8 games going on at 12:30. Let's go to Ellen Road first of all. Leeds against Portsmouth. Charlie Slater.
Where we're inside the final 10 minutes of the first half. Leeds 1, Portsmouth 1, but Leeds well back on top now as the ball goes into Bogle, and his cross from around 5 yards out is deflected behind from a corner kick. The heavens have opened here, so football really does feel like it's back now. It's 1-1, but as I say, Leeds well on top.
Oxford-Norwich feels very end-to-end. John Akers.
It really is. They're doing all they can do to get the win here, Oxford. And with Norwich attacking to my right-hand side, they've just had a header.
You're laughing at your own joke there, aren't you?
Yeah.
It was a good one, John.
Thank you, Junior. Norwich have just had a header over the bar from Fastnacht, from a corner. Oxford, Will Volks has had an effort over the crossbar as well, but they look really comfortable in possession, and they're working really hard. Lots and lots of blocks. Norwich have had efforts, but they've had a lot of shots blocked by very, very willing and determined and committed Oxford United defenders as a shot comes in from distance and it's palmed away from the Norwich City goalkeeper. Great effort from about 30 yards from Oxford, who lead 1-0.
QPR 1, West Brom 1 last time we were with Aaron Paul.
Still the same. Anderson with the opener for Rangers, Madger with the equaliser for Albion. It's kind of calmed down since then, Mark. Not really much going on. Both teams just settling back into championship action as QPR try to pop it forward with Colley looking for the run of the energetic Paul Smith. It is QPR 1, West Bromwich Albion 1.
A penalty, the difference between the two sides at the Riverside. Sonny Rajavajula.
Yeah, and just as you come to me, Swansea City have a cross that's dealt with comfortably by Middlesbrough in the end, who been the better side throughout this game. I've got to say that Isaiah Jones have been dangerous on the right hand side. It was his mazy run into the box, he was brought down, that led to a penalty that Emmanuel Latte-Laff dispatched. He got 9 and 8 at the back of last season, 18 in total, and he's started really well, finishing right into the side corner. If you're Luke Williams, the Swansea City boss, maybe a bit worried. Swansea kind of struggling to get a foothold in this. 39 minutes gone, Middlesbrough 1, Swansea 0.
Molly Stevens watching Sunderland lead at Cardiff.
Yes, Cardiff 0, Sunderland 1. I can't tell you how poor Cardiff's defending is. Their attack, though, is exciting. Their latest chance from Callum Robertson, a low shot saved by Patterson. But as soon as Sunderland get the ball in their half, anything could happen. Cardiff 0, Sunderland 1.
It's still Millwall 0, Watford 1 at the Den. Let's go to the goalless games next. Lee Blakeman at Stoke.
Yeah, Stoke 0, Coventry 0 might sound dull, but it's actually been quite a good watch, to be fair. Stoke have been on top. They've had a good chance through Emre Tezgal a few moments ago. Chamadou, who hit the post earlier, this time sent in a cross. Tezgal with the header. Brilliant save by Dovin, making his debut in the Coventry City goal. And then just after that, million-man hoof from 20 yards out. Pile driver and effort, just missed the top corner. Stoke 0, Coventry 0.
Hull Bristol City also goalless. Shojo Saka.
Yeah, Hull 0, Bristol 0. Sounds dull, and it kind of is, actually. I've got to say, barely a chance since you last came to me, Mark. Mark Sykes for Bristol City has just had a shot wide. But other than that, Bristol look much more dangerous. They've had most of the ball. Hull look a bit toothless at the moment. Hull City 0, Bristol City 0.
To the women's golf, Ian Carter.
Excellent pass save at the fifth for the leader Lydia Ko, getting up and down from around about 90 yards out to remain at 9 under par, 1 ahead of Ruoning Yin of China, who's played 8 holes, but Hannah Green has charged into a potential medal position. The Australian with 3 birdies in a row, she's 4 under for a round, and at 7 under par, playing the 9th, just 2 shots off the lead, alongside Miyu Yamashita of Japan, who has played 6 holes so far. Another drop shot for Nelly Korda. She's back to level for her round. The world number 1 at 4 under par. And Morgan Metro, her chances seem to have gone. She's just run up a triple bogey 7, and she's stuck at 4 under par now in a share of 9th place, 5 holes into a round, having come into this round sharing the lead.
Tottenham have just announced the signing of Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth. So it's a £65 million deal. They'll pay an initial $55 million, $10 million in add-ons, and he has signed a 6-year contract until 2030. He got 19 goals last season in the Premier League, Gareth. So, you know, he was in the running for Golden Boot. It's a lot of money, but that's what if you need a number 9 at the moment, that's what you're going to have to pay.
Yeah, I think obviously since the departure of Kane and the rumours on Son now, I think that he's a good signing. I really do. I think Bournemouth finished the highest they've ever finished. His goals were massive in that. He was sensational last year. I think the year before, people were questioning him. You know, they're questioning whether he was good enough for the Premier League, but he's proved it. I mean, double figures. Anyone who gets double figures, it's a fantastic return, and that's that's a shrewd bit of business from Postecoglou.
West Ham have confirmed the signing of Jean-Claire Todibo as well from Nice, who Manchester United wanted to sign but couldn't because they also have a state-owned Nice. Thoughts on that in a moment. Portsmouth have properly turned it round at Ellen Road. Charlie?
Not half. Portsmouth lead by 2 goals to 1. Callum Lang from 22 yards out and from nothing with his right boot, a rocket into the bottom corner of the net. A brilliant finish. His first goal in the Championship, and Portsmouth lead at Ellen Road. They were 1-0 down. They're 2-1 up.
I think the cliche is, Gareth, like an arrow, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a fantastic strike, you know. I mean, and like we say, who'd have seen this coming, you know? John Mousinho, well done, because his team has really got back into it. It shows some real mental strength here, and I mean, it shows, doesn't it? I mean, this Championship, it's brilliant. It was fantastic last year, and already we're not even 45 minutes in yet, but there's some real stories in there. So great comeback from Portsmouth, and well deserved with that strike.
Just one on Todibo, who he goes on loan, and they have an option to buy in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to go to Juventus. It's not a secret, and it's to take nothing away from West Ham and signing him. There just could not be an agreement between Juventus and Nice, and so he agreed to come to England. He wanted to. He grew up not far from here, played in the club where I played for in grassroots football, and he was always very good. I think what I like the most about him, outside of the physical strength that he has, the pace, etc., is the leadership qualities, and I think he will also bring that to this West Ham team, and for Julen Lopetegui to have somebody like him, a French international, still young enough to improve him in many aspects of his game, is great, even if it's obviously expensive.
Were you sort of a mentor of his?
I'm a bit older. Not that you can tell, obviously.
No, obviously
but,
not.
You know, I'm a little bit older than Todibo, kind of 20 years to be fair to him. But I knew his family, I knew everybody, the brothers and the cousins. So yeah, I wish him good luck, because he deserved that big move, and he finally got it to the Premier League, and now he has to show what he can do.
More of a granddad. More of a granddad, not a mentor.
Oh my God, Gareth, I thought you were in my team.
I'm sorry, man. I had to pull out it. Brilliant.
Well, speaking of which, John Murray is at Wembley this afternoon. When I say speaking of which, I'm speaking of Todibo here, because Manchester United were interested in him, John. And maybe they could do with him, because they go into this with very few fit defenders again.
Yes, they do. It is. I mean, there's a lot. I have to say, sitting here, I mean, I spoke to you yesterday, didn't I? Here we are again. So it's like going back to the Euros, the final of which was only 27 days ago in Berlin. And there are lots of I feel like I've suddenly gone back in time, because I'm sitting in the stadium here, Manchester United and Manchester City fans milling outside, another Wembley occasion for them both. I bumped into Michael Brown in the lift this morning. I've just seen Nader Madnua come up the steps, and here we are talking about a Manchester United injury crisis like we were for most of last season, and that's exactly what they've got, a list almost as long as your arm. So I think when we talk about this Community Shield match, it's almost impossible to do it until we actually find out what the teams are and what the relative strengths of the two sides that Erik ten Hag and Pep Guardiola are able to pick today.
There has been quite a lot going on in that 27 days, though.
There has. Yeah. Well, I've had a rest.
Oh,
You've
good.
not.
Good for you.
Thank you very much.
It feels a lot longer than 27 days ago. Does that final? Yeah. I mean, you cannot really, can you? And Gareth, you come in on this. You cannot really judge anything on either team from today, can you? Although it felt like this game was really important for Arsenal last season.
Yeah, and it was really important years ago. It's a little bit FA Cupish, isn't it? Where that was the biggest day in the football in the 80s and maybe the 90s, the FA Cup final, and then the Charity Shield we used to call it. That was a big first game. But now it's almost the last pre-season friendly, which is horrible to say, but. Both teams will find out a little bit about themselves, but I'm telling you now, they both won't show their hands today, not totally in what they're going to do next week, and that's a shame, because it is part of our history. But I came in this morning, there was both colours of fans all over the place, and this might be a sellout on a great occasion.
Yeah, and this match has a tradition which goes back a century now, and I'm sitting up here, the trophy's on the plinth, that famous trophy with the silver frontage and the dark wood surround, but I think it is, isn't it? It's just like the friendly that has a little bit more, and I think just in terms of how much football there is, they've obviously both been off playing all around the world, both in North America this summer, and it's really only next week, I think, when it comes to the first matches in the Premier League, that we'll have an idea of really where they are when the teams come out for those matches.
Yeah, and I suppose, therefore, John, it might be, although result matters in a Manchester derby, but both managers will be looking to see. I mean, there's rumours that Calvin Phillips might play as a centre-half at the start. Yeah. So
which he did in pre-season.
Yeah, so maybe it's about seeing what roles certain people play. I mean, Manchester United have somehow managed to come into the start of the season with hardly any fit defenders and no number. Well, Xerxes can play number 9, but
could be Sancho.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? But without, and they might try Sancho as a false 9. There are so many question marks.
Yeah, there are, but this is, as I say, it's like going back in time, and sitting in Wembley. And I know you care a great deal about me, and you always want me to leave the ground as quickly as possible after a match. And I always say to you that I think it's important for me to go and have a listen to what the managers say after a game. And
yes,
this was very much a case in
not the Georgian one after they've drawn with Turkey or something. Then we could get away quicker.
Jules,
but anyhow,
Jules, I'm surprised, Jules, you've not spoken enough sense to him during the course of this.
No,
fortnight.
you're right. I should
knock some sense into him. Anyway. The one at the end of last season when Manchester United had won the FA Cup and Erik ten Hag came in and spoke to the media, en masse, was a very interesting one, because we know now what he's like, don't we? And we know the character, we know the individual that he is. And I thought that was as close as I've seen him to actually biting back a little when he talked about, at the time, we didn't know whether that was going to be his last match as the Manchester United manager or not. And he was talking in that about how he is still constructing a team. He said, I'm building a team for the future. And of course that line as well about if Manchester United don't want me anymore, then I'll go and win trophies elsewhere, as I've always done. However, he is being still seriously hamstrung by injuries, and clearly he needs a big and strong and powerful start to the season where they're able to put down a marker and play more attractive, exciting and dominant football than they were able to do for large parts of last season. So, already, as we said right at the end of last season, already, because you're the Manchester United manager, the pressure is on.
John Murray, for the time being, thank you. John and Dion, your commentary team from Wembley. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff this afternoon, is the Community Shield. Let's go around the half times on the opening Saturday of the Championship. What a first 45 minutes for promoted Portsmouth. Charlie Slater.
Yeah, 12 years away, like they've never left. Leeds 1, Portsmouth 2. And Mark, I don't want to say that there were boos from the Leeds fans at the half-time whistle, but there were certainly grumbles. Leeds started the game like they've been shot out of a cannon, hit the bar 3 times before they took the lead in the 10th minute from the penalty spot through Pascal Strike. But then they just sat off and Pompey grew into the game, level thanks to Sorensen's debut goal after 21 minutes, and in front 5 minutes before the break after Callum Lang's 20-yarder. It is a brilliant welcome back to the Championship for Portsmouth, and the sold-out away end is absolutely loving it. Leeds 1, Portsmouth 2 at half-time.
Promoted Oxford ahead at the break as well. John Akers.
Yeah, they've been really good for it as well. Oxford United. Oxford 1, Norwich City 0. Mark Harris should have made it 1-0 after 3 minutes of the game when he missed kick from 2 yards out. He made sure a couple of minutes, 10 minutes before the break, with a really nice finish on his right foot, cut in from the left and about 12 yards out, fired it, little deflection off the keeper as it went through his legs and bobbled over the line, but Oxford have been worthy of it. Oxford 1, Norwich 0.
Erin McNeice missed out on a medal, by the way, in the climbing here at the Olympics today. We do have Britons involved in the quarterfinals in the taekwondo today. Caden Cunningham will go around 20-2 UK time. Rebecca McGowan will go a little bit later on, so we're following them. We're also with Noah Williams in the 10-metre men's platform. Jonathan Overend providing us with updates on that, mixing the Olympics and the football this Saturday afternoon. So let's go back to Loftus Road. Aaron Paul.
QPR 1, West Brom 1. A solid start from both sides in a game lacking concrete chances. It was Rangers who took the lead. Lucas Anderson with a postage stamp header after a gorgeous cross from Ryan Colley. Albion spurned a close range chance from Darnell Furlong to make it 1-1, whilst Rangers went close to Paul Smith, but then the visitors grabbed their equaliser. Josh Madger with a header too hot to handle for Nardi in the R's goal, and that pretty much tells the tale of the first half, Mark. QPR 1, West Brom 1.
Next we will go to Molly Stevens at Cardiff City.
Cardiff 0, Sunderland 1 at half-time. A goal from a free kick that was sent deep to the back post, and it was 2 bits of bad defending from Cardiff. First to allow Dennis Kirkin to head back across goal from that back post, and then for Luke O'Nien, a free header 2 yards out. That's the goal that separates these sides, and I don't want to speak too soon, but the sun is coming out, so things are looking up. 1-0 Sunderland.
1 goal in it as well at the Riverside. Sunny Rajavajala.
Yeah, and it's all sunny skies and smiles here for the home fans. Borough have been electric in this first half. Borough 1, Swansea City 0. Isaiah Jones in particular, a big chance right at the end of the first half from 6 yards out. Lascas defending for him. He was the man who won a penalty for Borough, weaving into the box, brought down, and Emmanuel Latte-Lap was there to convert the penalty from the spot. 17 more for him to equal his scoring from last season. Hot streak at the end there. Swansea, no shots, and I don't mean non-target, I mean they've had no shots at all. One big chance right at the end. Azim Abdullahi had his chance smothered from Semi Dieng after some faffing at the back from Middlesbrough. Lots of work for Swansea to do. Borough comfortable. Borough, what? Middlesbrough 1, Swansea City 0.
Nothing in it at Stoke. Lee Blakeman.
Stoke 0, Coventry 0. Stoke very much the better of the two teams. Chamadou is at the post with a header. Young striker Emre Tezgal, making his first senior start, has had a header brilliantly saved. Emilian Manhoef has had some great chances too. He's been the best player on the pitch by an absolute mile. Coventry, 1 real chance. Radoni with a shot blocked inside the area after just 30 seconds. Lively game, good watch. Nothing to show for it though. Stoke 0, Coventry 0.
Still waiting for the opening goal at Hull City as well. Shojo Saka.
Hull City 0, Bristol City 0. Hull striker Oscar Estupinyan's attempt from 5 yards. The closest we've come to a goal. Max O'Leary was positioned perfectly and parried on the line. Bristol City look very capable of breaking the deadlock. Lots of control in midfield, just lacking a bit of sharpness in the final third. Let's call this game a slow burner. Hull City 0, Bristol City 0 at half-time.
And for those of you on the edge of your seats about the volleyball, Jules?
The French have done it. Chapman, they've done it. They've retained the Olympic title. Back-to-back gold medal for the men's volleyball team of France. Incredible achievement. One of the greatest teams of team sport ever to do that. I don't even think the great Brazil team of the past or Italian team of the past have done it before. So an incredible achievement from the French to go gold again, like 3 years ago in Tokyo. Wonderful, wonderful tournament that they had.
And this cafe, honestly, when that happened, has reacted with complete and utter indifference to that French gold medal. But it does take you above Britain in the medals table.
Does it?
It does,
I didn't know. Thank you very much for
Takes you
informing
to
me.
15 gold and Britain have 40. Missed out one half-time score in the Championship, by the way. So keen was I to get to the volleyball. Millwall 0, Watford 1 at the Den. So you're up to date with all the sport this afternoon. Let's pause now for a BBC News update at 1:25.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
With the BBC News on 5 Live, I'm Fraser Dainton. Dozens of Palestinians have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school in Gaza City. The Hamas-controlled Civil Defense Agency says around 100 people died and that 3 rockets hit the school, which was being used as a shelter for displaced people. The Israeli military said Hamas and Islamic Jihad militants were operating inside the building. The King has called for unity following riots across the UK over the past fortnight. King Charles praised the police force for their response to the unrest in a phone call with the Prime Minister last night. Russia is introducing strict new security measures near its border with Ukraine. A surprise incursion from Kiev in Russia's western Kursk region is now entering a 5th day. And the funeral is being held for the British teenager Jay Slater, who died while on holiday in Tenerife. The 19-year-old from Lancashire fell to his death after getting lost in a mountainous area of the Spanish island in June. More than 200 people have attended a chapel service in Accrington.
Escape with a good book on BBC Sounds, like Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kwong.
I play up our connection. My grief over her death becomes a cornerstone of my origin story.
Enlightenment by Sarah Perry.
Thomas examined the image of a stone woman stuck on the verges of the lake. I suppose she's in the water now. What is she holding?
And Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin.
Do you have a mistress? I asked him. I don't seem to be very interested in women right now.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Paris 2024, the Olympic Games.
With Matt Chapman.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Opening weekend of the EFL season. The League One games kick off at 5:30. The League Two games kick off at 3 o'clock. The Championship games, all 8 of them, are at half-time. Watford are a goal up at Millwall. Leeds 1, Portsmouth 2, QPR 1, West Brom 1, Oxford 1, Norwich 0, Middlesbrough 1, Swansea 0, Cardiff 0, Sunderland 1. And the other 2 games are goalless between Stoke and Coventry and Hull against Bristol City. Back to the final round of the women's golf in the beautiful setting of Le Golf National, where there is barely a cloud in the sky.
It is utterly glorious at Le Golf National. There is no doubt about that. Par Golf is doing the job for Lydia Ko at the moment, but there are several players charging up into contention beneath her on this leaderboard. Ko at 9 under par. She's playing the 7th at the moment. Ronnie Yin of China has picked up 4 shots in 8 holes, so she's got it to 8 under par, currently in silver medal position. And a big charge from Australia's Hannah Green, 4 under par for the outward half at 7 under, 2 shots off the lead in bronze medal position. A whole group of players at 6 under par. They include the American Rose Yang, the Korean Amy Yang, and the German Esther Heinzeleit. I wonder if we'll see her in the Solheim Cup next month. She is 4 under par for her opening 9 holes, and in that group at 6 under, Nelly Korda. The odds are lengthening on her getting onto the podium. Just level par for the 8 holes she's played, and at 4 under she's in a share of 8th place.
I suppose they're the 2 things that we're missing, aren't we? The Nelly Korda charge, Ian, and a home interest from Celine Boutier, who got off to such a great start in the opening round, but has then just been on the periphery since.
Yeah, she really stumbled in the second round after that opening 65 Boutier, a 76, a 71 yesterday that had a triple bogey 7 in it, and today she's 1 over par for the 8 holes. She just doesn't, I don't know, body language and facial expression can sometimes be misleading, but the roars that go in every time she holds a putt, but she doesn't seem capable of enjoying those moments. It almost feels like the home expectation is weighing very heavy on her slim shoulders. So she's at 3 under par. She's in a share of 13th place, and you're right, if she could mount a charge like Victor Perez did in the men's event, then that really would get the atmosphere going and potentially give her an opportunity of a medal. It is still a very packed leaderboard, and as far as Cord is concerned, she's just not had the consistency over the 4 days, especially on the greens, but also her approach play is less than convincing by her standards, and I think she's going to miss out.
Ian, thank you. Beautiful setting for the golf, and if you've been listening to our coverage over the last couple of weeks, you know there's a beautiful setting for the taekwondo. Katie Smith and Steve Bunce are in Le Grand Palais. Just set up our afternoon for us, Katie.
Well, we've got 2 Brits in quarter-final action, and we know that in taekwondo nothing can be taken for granted, and you cannot really rest on your laurels in any sense of the word. But if we can go off what they produced this morning, they both look really, really hungry and very promising. So first up, probably in the next 10 minutes, we'll have Caden Cunningham, 21 years old, from Huddersfield. He's the current European champion, came through his first round match against a very experienced opponent. Scot-free, won both rounds straight up, so only had to contest the 2 rounds. It's a best-of-3 contest. And then we've got Rebecca McGowan of Scotland, the first Scottish athlete to compete in taekwondo at the Olympics. She had what she would refer to, I think, more as a warm-up in her first round, not to be disrespectful to her opponent from Fiji. That was Venice Elizabeth Megan Trail, but she beat her by a points gap, so got the 12-point lead, which means the round is stopped. In the first round, did it in 58 seconds, and then in round 2 said, why not again? Did it in 58 seconds.
Steve Bunce alongside Katie. It goes up a notch for them both here, doesn't it?
It does indeed, Chappers, and we saw the other day Jay Jones going out in the morning by about 11 o'clock, and then Bradley, we assumed he would go through because that's what we do with taekwondo, and it's an assumption, and there's nothing wrong with that. That means, you go to the rowing, you assume, you go to the cycling, you assume, you go to the swimming, you assume, you go to the boxing, you have no idea, you come to the taekwondo and you assume. So I've got to be absolutely honest with you, the way that Rebecca went through this morning, Bradley went through easier. The last 48 hours ago, he barely lasted 54 seconds combined. Something happens in this taekwondo arena. We've seen drama here, you and I, Chappers, so I don't take anything for granted. I really mean that, not a single thing for granted.
We can hear from Caden Cunningham, I think, who after his first round win, we don't have that at the moment. Might be able to hear a little bit later on before he makes his next fight. Go on then, Katie.
Mark, I listened to that interview that he did. Apparently he wasn't actually supposed to speak to the BBC, but he came on over anyway, and you could sense his excitement. He said, I was actually really nervous when I walked out because it's such a magnificent arena, this, under this vaulted glass domed roof, and you come through an archway, you're presented to the crowd. He said, I was so nervous, and then I felt the energy, and I saw the Union flags here, and I just knew it was game on. And I think he's one of these young guns who's never been to the Olympics before, but he says every fight he's gaining confidence that in the heavyweight division he can deliver.
And Chappers, quickly, if you need any gifts to take home to any family members, I've discovered a giant pile, 5 feet high, 10 feet long, of the broken bits of judo wood, the karate wood, okay? They have a martial arts exhibition in between the tournament, and they break hundreds and hundreds of these sheets of wood. I've found the mother load. I've found the pile. So honestly, no word of a lie. They're in Boss of Olympics and Karate Federation and all sorts of stuff. If you want, put your orders in now. I'll bring you 20. I'll bring you 20 next time I see you.
Okay. I mean, I actually haven't got any souvenirs to take back home for my children, but I'm sure they'd appreciate 20 planks of wood in my suitcase when I eventually get back.
Bingo.
Let's hear from Caden Cunningham. Here he is with Matthew Pinsent after his first round win this morning.
Caden, well negotiated the first round. How was it? You were giving away quite a bit in height and reach.
Yeah, he's a tall fighter, world champion, Olympic finalist. So he's got the experience, he's very good, but I did what I needed to do to win. I knew if I played like that, I wouldn't have to waste too much of my energy, don't have to waste anyone's time. Get in, warm up, and look forward to the next one.
And how great to see a few Union Jacks scattered around the venue.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's here, everyone cheering me on. It feels good, it feels really good. we've never had anything like this before. I'm sure other athletes have been saying that. The stadium's beautiful, so before I was nervous about the walkout, very nervous before, but as soon as I come out I was like, okay, sick. I knew what I wanted to do in that fight. I stuck to it, and might have looked close, but I felt good. I felt ready. I felt good.
Nerves are behind you, a long day ahead. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
He's got a real presence about him, hasn't he, Steve? I'm not talking about, physically, he's obviously got a presence about him. But he was on with us a few days ago, just having a chat with him. You're obviously going to have some nerves here, but he's confident in himself.
Yeah, I like that. I like to see a bit of, one word is swag, the other word is arrogance, and they can both be misused. But I like to see, confidence is probably in there as well. But I like to see a little bit more than just confidence. I like to see a little bit of chest out stuff, what I call the Bradley Wiggins Olympic stroll. It's that thing when Brad used to walk out on the track, and I love to see that in my GB competitors. And I think you get that with Caden, and without throwing it too far forward, there are some serious hurdles between him and a medal, and I kid you not, and that's not me overhyping it like I perhaps did with the boxing draw when I said it was the hardest draw ever. Then they all crashed out, so I was absolutely right. Yeah, I think I underplayed that. Next up he's got a Cuban, and then if he were to win that, he'd end up against a guy called Sheikh Cisse.
Well, potentially,
yeah, but that's the voice of reason from Katie there. I've got Sheikh Cisse going through, playing comfortably all the way.
What were you just saying about taekwondo? What can we not do?
Yeah, I get carried away. Let me get carried away. I'm building Caden's case here. I want him to have a showdown against Sheikh Cisse, because over there's Latala Muhammad, and I want Latala Muhammad to see revenge in a kind of way. Listen, we've got stories galore at the taekwondo, Chapman. Stories galore.
Well, there are, and Caden Cunningham has lots of stories as well, Katie. One of the things he was telling us when he was on the other day is his dad, when Caden was starting out, and his dad was a kickboxer, put him up against bigger, stronger, heavier opponents to help him learn.
Yeah, and he said actually kickboxing, I think, was his first love through his dad. But you can see the maturity of this guy. He found out that kickboxing at the age of 10 wasn't part of the Olympics and didn't look like it was going to be. So he said, fine, let's do taekwondo. And he said from that moment, from the age of 10, so that's 11 years ago, he said that is when I decided I was coming to Paris, and that is when I trained every single second that I could. So there's that laser focus element to him. And I also think, similar to what Bunsey was saying with this British tradition, we've got Latala Muhammad down there, it's also reminding me, and of course we come with the caveat, let's not tempt fate, but let's go back to London 2012, where Jade Jones, an unknown name to the British public, came at 19 and did the business, became a gold medalist. It's people like her that have made Caden Cunningham believe, and it's that sort of environment that they train in Manchester that makes them realise, if we can beat these guys in our own training base, we've got absolutely every chance of getting gold.
And you touched on something there, Katie. It's in that training base, and it's that belief, and it's like the top sports, the top successful sports at the Olympics, they breed success at their bases. They compete against each other for particular weights. Plus they have these training camps where they travel the world. They do in boxing, they do in swimming, where they compete against people kind of behind closed door. Not stuff that shows up on your record, but stuff that's better than showing up on your record, because it's fierce competition. And the Taekwondo GB team, over the last 12, 16, 20 and now 24, providing it gets a couple of medals at this game, let's get that absolutely right. It's all dependent on that. It has to be one of the great British success stories from the last 10 or 15 years.
The noise you can hear is because there is a French fighter at the moment in Le Grand Palais who is doing very well. I could be close to closing out that contest against the German opponent. Now, a couple of days ago we had Lewis Richardson on, British boxer, got a bronze medal from Colchester, but a massive Leeds fan because of his dad, so his dad has brought him up as a Leeds fan. Hopefully we'll go to Ellen Road at some point to show off his bronze medal. He'll be feeling a little happier if he's watching or listening to us now. Charlie Slater.
I would think so, because less than a minute after the restart and Leeds are level. It is now Leeds 2, Portsmouth 2. 2-2. Willie Nonto down the left-hand side, cutting in on his right foot, and he drags the ball in at the near post, and here they come again. Bogle in towards Joseph. He's blazed it just over the top of the crossbar. All Leeds now. Mark, earlier today I said to my wife and kids, I'm not even sure I'm ready for the return of football. Who was I trying to kid? This is brilliant. 2-2.
Leeds are going to be a lot of fun this season to watch, aren't they, Charlie?
Not half. Yes, they've lost Somerville, and there are a lot of goals that you lose when you lose a player like that. But while they've still got Willie Nonto, and there's rumours that he might be off to Everton, as the corner is now swung in by Gruev at the near post. And I tell you, Rodon's inches away from nodding that into an empty net. They're going to be a lot of fun, because I'm not sure at times they're brilliant at the back. They give the ball away in dangerous areas, but when they get going and they get Jorginho Rutter involved and Matteo Joseph and Dan James down the right, they are explosive. 2-2. We've played nearly 50 minutes.
Back to QPR, Aaron Paul.
West Bromwich Albion have the lead. QPR 1, West Brom 2. Great work by Tom Fellows down the right-hand side, beating Kenneth Powell, getting to the byline and just delivering the most delicious cross into the box. As here come QPR. Anderson shot across the face of goal, and it's just dragged wide. But let me just tell you more about that Albion goal. Gorgeous ball in by Fellows, and there was Josh Madger rising highest at the back post, beating Dunn for strength and planting the ball past Paul Nardi. Really good header from the Albion number 9. QPR 1, West Brom 2.
Oxford were a goal up on Norwich last time we were with John Akers.
And they've just hit the crossbar, Oxford, at the start of the second half. Still Oxford 1, Norwich 0. Brannigan with a deflected effort following a corner, came off the defender, looped onto the crossbar, goalkeeper beaten. They've started the second half really well, the promoted side, and Norwich have brought on Forson Amankwa for his debut for Liam Gibbs at half-time. It's Oxford 1, Norwich 0.
Watford still lead by a goal to nil at Millwall. At Hull, Shojo Saka.
Hull City 0, Bristol City 0 still, but Bristol City have hit the crossbar. Hull giving the ball away on the edge of their penalty area. Bristol City recycling it really well. Fell to Anis Mehmeti. His shot was saved and just hit Evo Pandor and hit the crossbar. Hull City 0, Bristol City 0.
Tisani Rajavajala next at the Riverside.
Well, Middlesbrough continue to be comfortable. It's Borough 1, Swansea City 0, 55 minutes gone. But just to mention, Mark, at half-time, Tony Mowbray was on the sidelines. We'll remember that he had to leave his job at Birmingham City through illness. He was looking really well. He said thanks everyone for all the support, and it was a rousing reception to him from all the Riverside fans here, fans at the Riverside. Standing ovation. He's one of our own ringing round. And he also added that people come up to him on the street and give him revels when they see him in Middlesbrough. 55 minutes gone. Middlesbrough looking comfortable, still leading by Swansea City by 1-0.
Lee Blakeman this afternoon is watching Stoke against Coventry.
Needs to come to life a bit. It was all Stoke in the first half. It's been all Coventry in the second. Still 0-0. Coventry have just had a really good opportunity. Ball sent in from the left. Ellis Sims, glancing header, just gone wide. First half great. Second half, not much to report. Stoke 0, Coventry 0.
And to Cardiff City next, where the visitors were ahead, I think. Molly?
Yes, they were, and they still are. It's still Cardiff City 0, Sunderland 1. Cardiff had a slight chance to improve their scoreline. Gutas with a free kick, but instead of actually going for goal, he just shot it way wide. So yeah, nothing much to report at this point. I've got to be honest. Cardiff 0, Sunderland 1.
OK, Ian Carter next at the golf.
Huge moment here for Lydia Ko, the New Zealander. She has holed from 45 feet for a birdie at the 7th, and the cheers you can hear for a brilliant tee shot into the 8th. She's in control at the moment. Lydia Ko at 10 under par, 2 shots clear. Silver in Rio, bronze in Tokyo. Could it be gold in Paris for the former world number 1? 2 clear of Ronnie Yin of China, and 3 clear of 3 players. Esther Heinzeleit of Germany, Miyu Yamashita of Japan, but a drop shot actually for the other player who was in that group. She's Hannah Green, back down to 5 under par, double bogey there. Nelly Corder's picked up a shot at the 9th. She's at 5 under. They're in a share of 6th place.
We are ready to go virtually in Le Grand Palais for the taekwondo. 2 Brits into the quarterfinals today. First up is Caden Cunningham. Rebecca McGowan will go later on her quarterfinal, 2:45 UK time. But for now, it's all about Caden with Steve Bunt and Katie Smith.
wearing the blue body protector and the blue helmet this afternoon, up against Rafael Alba, the taller of these two heavyweight men. They weigh in at over 80 kilograms, more like 87 for these two. And Alba will be wearing the red. They are in the centre of this stunning, magnificent arena. What a place to have Olympic competition like this. This is the quarterfinals of the men's heavyweight taekwondo, and the first round has begun. So we have potentially 3 2-minute rounds to come. It is best of 3, so if you can win the first 2, you are straight through to the semi-finals. It is a race against the clock, Steve, because everything about this is time. It goes on for an eternity.
It can go on for an eternity, and it can also end rather quickly and abruptly if one man or woman starts to take control and dominance. This is a cagey, slow start, even by the standards of the quality fighters, and I think that's what we've got. We've got a Cuban here. He won a world championship when he was 11-12 years ago, when he was 19, and he looks like a seasoned man.
He was also a bronze medalist in Tokyo 3 years ago, when Cunningham hadn't even made it onto the scene yet. So we are scoreless with 45 seconds of this first round gone. They need to come together, otherwise they may be penalised here by the referee. And they're just feeling each other out at the moment, neither wanting to make the first move. They're almost stationary, in fact, in the middle of the octagon.
One of them needs to do something, otherwise they're both going to get a yellow. They're both going to get a point. A point warning. They're going to end up with that if they're not careful. It's the most cautious opening minute you and I have seen inside this ornate building.
Now Alba goes in for a punch. Both men end up on the floor afterwards. Cunningham is just adjusting the shin protector on his right leg. He's taking a while to get back up, but he's on his feet now. Did he look like he was doing something to his knee?
Yeah, because he broke his ACL injury in 2022. Was that his right knee or his left knee? Because he, without a doubt, stroked his knee as he got up then very slowly, Katie.
And he has talked about the psychological battle of having to come back from that. Injured himself at the World Championships. That was only 2 years ago. 32 seconds here. We are still at 0-0 between Caden Cunningham of Great Britain, who's just fended off very well a body kick from Alba of Cuba, the taller of the two in this heavyweight division. So hard for these huge men to get their legs so high. They're looking to kick each other in the head, in the body. 14 seconds. The clock stops. They're being pulled apart now by the referee.
You can nick this fight with a simple trunk shot. It doesn't have to be a flight. It doesn't have to be a twisting shot. It can be a simple shot. You've got 4 seconds left. Nick it with one shot.
And now the kicks are flying. Less than 2 seconds. What's going to happen here as the buzzer counts down? And it is scoreless. Now, which way has this gone? I think that may have been given to Caden Cunningham. Let's have a look here.
He's smiling. He certainly seems okay. They're not worried about his knee. That's a good sign.
Now, to me, the referee looked like he was pointing out his arm to the Caden Cunningham side. That's not completely clear, so we're going to wait and see here. But in the meantime, let's head over to John Akers.
Oxford United have doubled their lead in the championship. Oxford 2, Norwich City 0. It's a brilliant goal. Low ball in from the right from Long, and first time Cam Brannigan with a brilliant finish into the corner. Oxford 2, Norwich 0.
Now that first round has been given to the British. The 21-year-old from Huddersfield, Caden Cunningham, who is a part-time model as well. He's being nicknamed an Olympic Prince, but this, Bunsey, is only the quarter-final stage. He's won the first round. He needs one more now, and if he can do it here in 2 rounds, that's job done.
Do you know, to pull off a round like that, to pull off a full round that confidently against a man of Alba's experience and just take it on aggression, that's smart, that's clever. Let's see, the Cuban surely has to go at him, Katie. He has to.
So points come from punches to the trunk, kicks to the body and the head. But in that instance, when it is scoreless, it's up to the judges to have a look at who is being more aggressive. There is an element of subjectivity, and even kicks that don't land, that don't score, are still given credence over other things. Now we're into this second round, 15 seconds gone. They come into a clinch. It is still really nervy.
I'm very surprised at Alba here. I know that his form's dropped off over the years. He's not necessarily world number one, but even so, he seems to be very reluctant to engage, very reluctant to commit. He has picked up 3 points though.
Yeah, he's got a kick to the head, and the two fighters now shaking their heads at each other mid-fight. The clock is still ticking down, 1 minute 25, and they're just foot fencing at the moment, darting their left and right foots out towards each other, little jabs, just sounding each other out. But it's the Cuban is leading here by 3 points to 0.
That was a good attempt there as well. Just managed to move away, Caden, from that kick. There's not a lot of movement. It's a really static. They're a really static pair.
Now, Caden Cunningham is the higher-ranked fighter here. He is seeded at number 4. The Cuban Rafael Alba at number 12. So, as the form books go, this is where we are heading. It is Caden Cunningham who leads as they come in towards these kicks again and just holding each other off. So very defensive this fight. It's not like we've seen throughout the day. It's not very attacking this.
It's not what we've seen through 3 days of taekwondo, to be perfectly honest with you. It's a fight, it's a competition, it's a match that can be won with one kick towards the end. It seems really odd for a quarter-final. So cagey.
And Cunningham just feigning a move, darting to the left, then darting to the right. 30 seconds, he still trails here. Jumps up into the kick, but that's not going to score. But remember, these are important to show attacking intent. 22 seconds, the arena here at the Grand Palais, almost silent. They don't quite know what to make of this.
Well, they actually did a slow hand clap a few moments ago, which is the taekwondo taboo. You don't want to be on that mat when you're getting a slow hand clap.
8 seconds now, and Cunningham is still trailing here. What can he find in the last 5 seconds? Is he going to be taken the distance here by the very experienced Cuban fighter? Cunningham's now on the floor. The clock stops with 1.8 seconds to go, and that is a penalty against the Brits. So the Cuban now leading 4-0, and that is the buzzer. So we are heading to a third and deciding round. This is Taekwondo.
This is Taekwondo. What's really weird, we spoke with such authority not 7 or 8 minutes ago. We told we told the nation that these 2-minute rounds can last forever. We've just had the quickest 2-minute rounds you and I have ever witnessed. They lasted barely 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. This fight needs to come alive. Someone needs to take a risk, because just thinking you can steal it, nick it with a little bit, one single kick or punch isn't, in my opinion, going to be enough. I think we're going to see a totally different third round.
It is a sport all about risk and reward. They now have a minute's break in between. Latest score from the championship, Millwall 0, Watford 2, as Cunningham is just talking to his coach now. Now, to me, he looks really calm. He is a mature man, and he has talked already about the Olympic gold being his. You said it's a fine balance, isn't it, about arrogance or confidence.
And you know what? When you're 21, 22 years of age, and you've got a bit of swag around you, and you do some catwalk modelling, in all fairness, you're allowed to have a little bit of arrogance and confidence, aren't you? That's what it's all about. The only thing is, that doesn't work against Cubans. I've known that for 35 years of covering in the boxing ring. You cannot get inside a Cuban's head no matter what you do.
Well, there's a Union flag being waved in front of us, but Caden Cunningham cannot see that at the moment because he has his back to us and he is facing his opponent. He's now side on. They're just darting at each other again with their favoured legs. That's 10 seconds already gone. He has to win this third round to go through to the semi-finals.
This is too tetchy for my nerves. This is too tetchy. I wanted to see a bit more combat, a few more points scored, lots of free scoring points. This is going to be stolen in the last 4 or 5 seconds. I've got that horrible, dreaded feeling.
We've seen that before, and it's happened to British fighters. Happened to Bradley Sinden in Tokyo. Happened to Latelo Mohammed in Rio.
Who's down there throwing punches and kicks like you wouldn't believe.
He is watching his man, Caden Cunningham. He'll be urging him on. He just darts away from a very aggressive kick from the right foot of Alba. 1 minute, 10 seconds. We're scoreless in the third and deciding round. This is for a place in the Olympic semi-finals.
And it's at this point in the fight, with a minute left in the third round and the place at the semi-finals at stake, when, I've got to tell you, that's when the experience can count. No matter how, if you're a bit old and a bit faded, the experience is crucial in these dying seconds.
Now, can Cunningham get himself on the board here? Didn't score at all in that second round, and we had no score in the first round. So he has not actually landed a scoring punch or kick yet. 45 seconds.
And I'm starting to keep my eye on who I consider to be the most aggressive in this fight, just in case we get another 0-0 and it's down to the third man on the mat to decide.
Well, and also we've got to look at the fact that it's only Alba who scored a kick to the head, so those 3 points will be looked at as well. Now they're coming together once again. That is much better from Caden Cunningham, who's now starting to move to the edge of the ring. He's darting around his opponent, who stood in the middle on the Paris 2024 logo. Lilac mat. It's an octagon, 8x8. Who is going to make the move here? 17 seconds.
Surely somebody's got to go for it, Katie. Surely.
He's the European champion, Caden Cunningham. He's been in brilliant form, and there we go. He's on the board. Kick to the body with less than 10 seconds to go. He leads by 2 points to 0. The referee pulls them apart again. He says, fight now. The clock starts ticking. He goes again. 4-0 up is Caden Brannigan.
5 seconds left.
The man in blue is delivering. 3 seconds to avoid any last-minute attacks. He steps out of the ring. That will be a penalty against him. So the deficit now moves to 3 points. 1.8 seconds now for Caden Cunningham, who has darted out of the octagon again, and he puts his hands up because the buzzer is gone. There will be another penalty against him, but it doesn't matter because he had enough of a lead there, and he pulls his helmet off, and there we see the confident smilers. So guys, what did you have to worry about?
Yeah, what are they talking about up there in the commentary box? I don't need 15 seconds. I need one kick. I need 9 seconds, and then I'll take it. Then I'll breeze. Then I'll make it look like it was planned. Then I'll make it look like it was simple. Well, you know what? It may have been simple. He could sit down right next to us right now and tell us, go through it move by move. If that was intended, if that was planned, if it was that simple, that's quality. He's through to the semis.
Well, he is smiling now. He steps out of the ring, and now he does almost a mini lap of honour. He's waving his arms up to the crowd. So, Mark, I think he's a real showman. He loves this stage, and you've got to. If you're going to do this sport of taekwondo, where we've seen aggressive, furious, flurrying kind of fights, and then we see there very low scoring, very edgy, but he has done the job. He's into the semi-finals. You've got to be the kind of person who loves it.
Well, you have. Well, it was a bit odd, though, that, Steve, wasn't it? And the crowd found it quite dull at times.
Yeah, the crowd slow clapped half a dozen times, but you know what I was doing the whole time I was watching it? I had my left eye just wandering to Latala Mohammed, who lived and breathed every single second of that competition. He's down there now talking to his friend Caden. And in fact, I had a conversation with Latalo the other day that was interrupted by a phone call from Caden, and he pulled away Latalo and he said to Caden, it was a great line he used, he said, people are going to tell you this is just like an ordinary tournament. People are going to tell you it's just like another championship. And he said, Latalo, he said, it's not. And he looked down, it was a FaceTime call. He said, it's not. This is the Olympics. You've never known anything like it. It was a great pep talk, and I was privy to it. So if Latalo's backing him, I'm backing him, even though I wasn't sure during most of that 3-round contest, chappers. I've got to tell you.
Watford have doubled their lead at Millwall in the Championship. Millwall 0, Watford 2 there this afternoon. Shakvatadze has got the second goal there for Watford. Elsewhere, Cardiff 0, Sunderland 1, Hull 0, Bristol City 0, Leeds 2, Portsmouth 2, Middlesbrough 1, Swansea 0, Oxford 2, Norwich 0, Stoke 0, Coventry 0, and West Brom are further in ahead at QPR. Aaron Paul.
QPR 1, West Bromwich Albion 3. Josh Maja has an opening day hat-trick. Fellows with the ball in from the right. It was deflected towards his own goal by Samfield, and just lurking to poach was Maja with a superb acrobatic finish. QPR 1, West Brom 3.
QPR on the diving this afternoon here at the Olympics. QPR on the women's golf as well. We've got the taekwondo. There was no medal, sadly, for Erin McNeice in the sport climbing a little earlier on this afternoon. We've also got the start of the English football season. EFL games across the weekend, and also this afternoon at 3 o'clock, Saturday afternoon 3 o'clock, we have the Community Shield, a Manchester derby, the FA Cup winners Manchester United against the league winners Manchester City. Dion Dublin will be alongside John Murray for this. We've still got Gareth Ainsworth in the studio with us as well. Afternoon, Dion.
Good afternoon, gents. How are we?
What do you want to take out of this?
For Man United to win the game. That's what I want. That's basically it, to be honest.
Does it matter?
No. It does, yeah, it does. You know what frustrates me about this one is I think people don't realise how much it means to the players. It's the game of the season where you have to hit the ground running, you have to show the manager what you are made of, and it's a derby, chappers. This is a big game for the players. It's a trophy. You know, people think it's not important, but it is. It's a very important game.
Can you, as an individual, can you set your season up with a good Community Shield performance?
As an individual, yeah, you can. Your season, the start of the season, yeah, without a doubt. You go out there, you're flying, your first tackle, you feel good, your passing's nice and clean and crisp. Your first tackle as a defender, you block something on the line, you win a few headers. Whatever it takes to get your season going as an individual, yeah, it can set you up, and confidence can can kick in as well. The manager can see that through your body language and your performances. So yeah, as an individual, as a footballer, this is a great start for you.
When you look at Manchester City, they spend more time selling players this summer than bringing them in, haven't they?
Yeah, but the amount of players that they have or had and still have, Chappers, I can't find a weak player in their squad. They are going from strength to strength when it comes to what they're winning and their dominance on this league and in European football as well. I just believe they can afford. They're probably the only team in the league that can afford to sell the players they've sold and the quality of player and still be challenging right at the top of the table.
I mean, I can't believe I'm asking this about Manchester City, Gareth, but are they slightly short up front now they've sold Alvarez?
I don't think so. I agree with Dion. I was lucky enough to play against Pep a couple of years ago, and this was when Palmer was still there and some of the young boys coming through, and he was saying he could field a 23 side and be confident to win to win games in the Premier League. So they have got this depth, there will be some style that they've got there, and I'm sure that I think a striker will come in. I think so, but Haaland obviously is the mainstay up there, and he's done fantastic for them. But they have this conveyor belt of absolute world-class talent coming through their youth, and they've got it right. They're doing it the right way, and I'm sure that Pep's got something planned to replace Alvarez, a way of playing, a personnel. But the game today, just back to the game, I agree with Dion. For an individual, it sets you up. I just wish that the gravitas was still in the game for the team, but as an individual, people will be getting caught. If Haaland goes and scores a hat-trick today, of course it's going to set him up if he's playing, but anyone scores a hat-trick, it's going to set him up. It's going to set him up for the season, but we're going to see what happens. But yeah, Pep, what a manager and what a club he's got to run there.
Well, for whoever wins it, all of a sudden the Community Shield has a lot more gravitas. I would imagine for whoever loses it, it's just part of the process of building up to the start of the season. John Murray with the team news.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mark, what will help the discussion here is to actually tell you what the teams are, which we can now do. So you can make up your mind who you think has put out the strongest team. Manchester City first as the champions. Ederson is in goal. Back four of Lewis, Akanji, Captain Diaz and Gvardiol. Then in midfield, Kovacic with McAtee, who's been playing pre-season, was at Sheffield United on loan, and also Nico O'Reilly, the 19-year-old 6'5" midfielder. This is his senior competitive debut, but he has been playing pre-season as well in the matches that they've had, and scored against Barcelona actually. So McAtee, Kovacic and O'Reilly in midfield, and then Bob, Doku and Haaland is the front line. So there's no Alvarez, as discussed. There is no Grealish, actually not involved at all, so we're asking the question why that is. And among the substitutes for Manchester City, Savinho, who is their big signing so far of the summer. Kevin De Bruyne's on the bench, Ake, Calvin Phillips as well, and there's no involvement yet for Rodri, Foden, Walker, Stones, as we were mentioning earlier, having gone all the way at the Euros. However, on the other side of that, Kobbie Mainoo, who went the whole way with Manchester United, is playing. This is their team. Onana in goal. Erik ten Hag has been able to conjure up four defenders, Mark. So Dalot, Maguire, Evans and Martinez. Then Casemiro and Mainoo, with Amad Diallo, Mount, Rashford and Captain Fernandes. And among the substitutes for Manchester United, Zirkzee, as we've been discussing him, the Dutch international. Sancho, Garnacho's on the bench, McTominay, Anthony and Eriksen. So there we are.
So that, I mean, are you surprised, Dion, at Kobbie Mainoo coming straight back in?
Not really. Not at all. I think if he's...
Even though he hasn't really been involved in pre-season and it's only 27 days since the Euros final.
No, I don't. And he's a young lad. Chappers is a young lad. I think they don't have any off time anymore, Chappers. You know, the lads will be fit. Game time, yes, you can argue that he's not had enough game time, but they seem to just carry on where they left off. What we would call the kids, myself and Gareth would call the kids. they just get on with it, and they want to play all the time. So don't hold them back. And I think with a quality player like that, you're going to need him on a stage like this.
Just been told it's nothing to worry about is the general tenor of what Manchester City say about Jack Grealish. Just a bit of, quotes, discomfort.
in his body or in his head?
Well, I can only tell you what I've been told.
It's probably from the bench because he sat on it too much.
What? I wonder who sat down and thought, that will clear everything up. If we just put out discomfort, then that'll be fine. What is quite interesting is that Pep Guardiola there, Gareth, has gone with young players who performed for him in pre-season and gone, go on then, go Nico O'Reilly or McAtee and go and have another game.
Yeah.
Whereas actually the young lads who've performed for Ten Hag during pre-season, and I'm thinking of Toby Collier, who I think is on the bench, and Harry Amas, who's been a left-back basically, he's been United's only fit left-back during pre-season, aren't getting a look in, and he's gone for Evans and as a centre half and Martinez at left back.
I think what that shows is, I think Ten Hag he knows how important this game is for the fans. He doesn't want to be turned over. He wants to win this game. I'm looking at this going, he wants to win this game. Whereas Pep's using it probably, and he's not disrespecting in any way at all, but he's using it to put these couple of young lads out with his best players to see how they fare. Will he be able to put them in the Premier League? And I think that's as simple as that. I think they've both gone very strong. I think it's great for the competition, as you say, and what Ten Hag's been doing, and I've done it in pre-season, and I'm sure Dion's been in teams like this. You've got to rotate sometimes to save legs. If he's had the injury problems he's had, it's really difficult. Games are so intense. He'll have played his young boys to maybe just offload those players in pre-season. But this is the big one. He's looking at this one as a bigger one than any, and rightly so as well. I think it's huge for the team that wins, and for the team that get beat, it didn't matter too much, and that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Would you agree, Dion, that losing, or maybe even losing heavily to a Manchester City team when you've played a couple of kids is more damaging to United than City losing to United and playing a couple of kids?
Yeah, you know what, I think United fans would be more worried than City fans would be if they were to lose. I think City fans would go, right, okay, you can have that one, no problem at all, but where are you going to be in the league, which is obviously their main objective. However, it's going to hurt if you lose on this stage against this team, because it's a mental thing as well. You've got to walk around the city, you've got to keep your fans happy as well. So yeah, individually as a footballer, it's going to mean a lot to get this over the line and to get the win.
And let's not forget they were there 2 months ago.
Absolutely.
Facing each other in the FA Cup final. So there's got to be that little hangover from that as well. So there's plenty on this game, which is great. And it's going to be really interesting to see who comes on top.
And I would suggest as well, Mark, that what Eric Ten Hag and Manchester United, their supporters, do not need right at the start of a season is, if you remember how the league matches went last season, when Manchester United were outclassed, really, they do not want to start the season in this country with a defeat like that, do they?
No. Millwall have pulled one back in the EFL, in the Championship. So Millwall won Watford 2 with about 10 minutes to go, just over, at the Den, and we've got our first goal of the afternoon at Stoke. Who to? Lee Blakeman.
It's gone to Stoke. Stoke 1, Coventry 0. Lewis Baker on as a substitute. He'd only been on the pitch for a few minutes. Nice 1-2 with Millie and Manhurf. Baker played back in, tidy finish, right side of the 6 yards area, past the keeper, and Stoke lead with 11 to play. Stoke 1, Coventry 0.
So that means that our only goalless game at the moment in the Championship is Hull against Bristol City. Elsewhere, as they go into the last 10 minutes or so, Cardiff 0, Sunderland 1, Leeds 2, Portsmouth 2, Middlesbrough 1, Swansea 0, Oxford 2, Norwich 0, and QPR 1, West Brom 3. Dion, when you look at Manchester City and you look at everybody else in the Premier League, do you sense, so you look at what Arsenal are doing and look at who maybe they're trying to sign, are City comfortable with where they're at? Because there appears to be no panic, no reaction to everything that's going on. They're just continuing to do their thing.
Yeah, I just think I think in-house, under the Manchester City umbrella, they will be very confident with what they have. The manager will be very confident with players going out and just having what he has in the dressing room, being on the training ground with him all the time, who know exactly who's going to do what. when they're going to play, how much time they're going to have. I don't think there'll be any panic at all from City. I do believe, though, that like Arsenal, they're catching them up. They're catching them up, they're getting better. City are staying where they are. They are the dominant force within this league and have been for so many years. But I do believe, like Arsenal, for one, are gonna start catching them up. Liverpool don't want to be out of the picture for too long. Man United have been out of the picture far too long. They're getting embarrassed as well. So there's going to be big clubs that need to be back at the party come the end of the season. And I do believe City, on the outside looking in, will have to look over their shoulder. But in the camp, there'll be no panic at all.
The only noise really has been over Pep himself and his future, because he was asked a lot of questions during pre-season. He answered them quite honestly, I thought, about it looks more likely that this is the last season. And if it's really the last season, then this, in terms of dynamic for the club, who would already be looking for who can replace maybe the greatest coach ever or one of the greatest ever, this is where maybe panic is a bit too strong, but this is where they will be thinking already, hang on a minute, what are we going to do next? And he might stay another year after this one, so 2 more, maybe even 3 more, although it looks more likely that this could be the last one. And then after that, good luck for not just replacing him, but keeping that momentum and that winning streak going.
So, and I'm sure they will know who their 2 or 3 top targets are to replace him. Maybe that does alter their plans in the transfer market. Maybe, all right, we've had this amazing bid for Alvarez, we'll accept it. You know, a couple of others we can move on as well. But before we actually look at replacing them, we need to know.
Absolutely.
Because they will want a similar style manager, but you're not going to exactly replicate him, are you? So maybe you need to hold fire on some of your players until you work out what direction you're going to go in next.
Yeah, of course. And I think also, if Pep leaves in 1 year, I think you could imagine Kevin De Bruyne leaving, although it will still be another year in the contract. KDB can say, okay, you know, Pep is going, I'm going as well, this is the right time. And I think a lot of them could be thinking like that. So it's not just Pep that you will have to replace, it's also potentially a couple of key players in your squad. And then, like you said, Chappers, whoever is coming in will need players for his strength and for his style. And even if his style is similar to Guardiola's style, for all we know, it might be someone who likes wing-backs. So suddenly you will have to go and get a 50 million right wing-back and a 50 million left wing-back, because the players that you have maybe can't really play like that, or another position that you need to strengthen. And suddenly, again, the whole dynamic changes completely.
Jules,
sorry, go on, Dion.
Sorry, Chappers. Jules, do you feel that that's... I'm not going to say he's starting to put that in place, but do you honestly think that if Pep goes and he goes to another job, do you think there'll be certain players that think, I wouldn't mind fancy following the gaffer? Do you think there'll be many of those that do that?
I don't know if they would follow him, because I think after this, for Guardiola, it's a national team and then that's it. I don't believe he would go to another club. And really, okay, maybe to Italy where he played and where he finished his playing career, maybe that could appeal to him. But then there will be no other English club, certainly no other Spanish club. He's done the best club in Germany, so he would not go to anywhere else really, and not backed by Bayern Munich either. So I think, I think this is more likely. So I meant more of people believing this is the end of the cycle, and what a cycle it would have been. 9 years is a very long time. Of success is even longer, and maybe some of them will feel this is the right time to go. He's going, I'm going as well, and what a cycle we would have had together.
Jules, just for the record, we've got Gary Monk down at Cambridge United. When Monkey decides to go, we'll have Pep down at Cambridge, no problem at
all. Well, I tell you what, I hope Gary Monk isn't listening, Dion, because the League One
I said when he wants to leave. I said when he wants to leave. He's going nowhere.
Covered yourself there. Well done.
I tell you, they don't kick off till 5:30. Those League One games. Don't want him.
He'll be fine.
Don't listen to us on the way to Stockport this afternoon thinking, God, we haven't even kicked off the first game and Dion's trying to replace me with Pep.
It is a big thing though, Chap, is on the replacement of Pep. I just want to say, it's a big example now of the club. The manager has to suit the club rather than the manager changing everything. Who is there? Who's around? It's a really tough one, that is. And I agree, it's going to be the end of an era, and it may have to just be revamped slightly, and that's going to be really interesting.
Get your hat in, son. Get your hat in. Come on.
Gareth is available. Yeah.
The only game in the Championship that didn't have a goal was Hull City, but there has been one. Shojo Saka.
Hull City 0, Bristol City 1. It looks like new signing Falu Mayulu has come off the bench and scored the winner. It fell to him on the edge of the box. It was a lovely turn and spin, left-footed volley into the corner. The home crowd are absolutely shocked. Hull 0, Bristol City 1.
Any sign of a winner at Leeds? Charlie Slater.
Patrick Bamford nearly scored one off the bench with his first real chance of the game and of the season, of course. 83 on the clock, Leeds 2, Portsmouth 2. Ball deflected in from the left-hand side and Bamford got in front of his man about 5 yards out and stuck his header wide. 2-2.
Elsewhere, Sunderland still lead at Cardiff by a goal to nil. Middlesbrough 1-up at Swansea thanks to a first half penalty. Watford are 2-1 up at Millwall. Oxford lead Norwich by 2 goals to nil on their return to the second tier. First time since 1999 and they look like they're going to get their first 3 points of the season. QPR 1, West Brom 3 and Stoke lead Coventry by a goal to nil. From the football to the Olympic diving, 2 Brits in action this afternoon in the men's 10-metre platform, watched by Jonathan Overend.
Yes, this is the final gold medal to be won inside the Aquatic Centre here in the diving competition. Men's 10-metre platform, individual event, as you say. Now, this is the event where Tom Daley has won a bronze in 2 of the last 3 Olympics, London and Tokyo. But it's his silver medal winning partner from the first week in the synchro competition, Noah Williams, who's representing Great Britain, and also Kyle Qatari, the Londoner who's had terrible injury trouble over the last 8 years or so, making his Olympic debut. They're both among the 12 competitors in this final. We're into the second round of dives, 6 dives in total all these athletes have to contend with, and we've just seen a brilliant second dive from Noah Williams, in fact, who just about scraped into this final. He was the 12th out of 12 qualifiers from the semi-final, but he scored 86.2 for his second dive, which is a fabulous score, and I think in the shakedown, when everyone's gone after 2 dives, he will certainly be in the top 6, maybe even edging towards 5th or 4th. Qatari had a disappointing opening drive, so it may well be Williams is the one to watch from a British point of view over the next half an hour or so.
Is this another one that's going to be dominated by China then?
Yes, China have the defending champion who was brilliant, scoring almost 100 points in his opening dive, but then his teammate, Yang Hao, the world champion, was disappointing by his high standard. So there's a dangerous Aussie, a dangerous Japanese, the Mexicans are in this, a couple of young Canadians as well. It's a really, really strong field, and getting anywhere close to a medal for the Brits would be a good achievement.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Back with Jonathan throughout the course of the afternoon. Final round of the women's golf today as well, out at Versailles in Le Golf National. Ian Carter.
And Lydia Ko, the leader, taking advantage of the par 5 ninth and making a routine birdie there, which has taken her to 11 under par. As it stands, it's a 4-shot lead, but Ronnie Yin in silver medal position is going to drop a shot at the 12th, and that means she'll drop back to 6 under par alongside the German Esther Hanseleit, who's hit a good approach into the 13th. Brooke Henderson has surged into contention now for a medal. The Canadian, after 12 holes, is 5 under par. Hannah Green of Australia also at 5 under, as is the Korean Amy Yang, and of the United States, Nelly Korda, who is now 1 under par for her round after 11 holes. So the medal positions, silver and bronze, everything to play for. Lydia Ko in a commanding position now, 5 shots clear. But remember, John Rahm a week ago had a similarly commanding position at this stage and completely capitulated on the back 9. Ko showing no sign of doing that as it stands at the moment.
Also feel a bit for Megan Matreau here, don't you, who's been one of the stories of this Olympic golf. Was in the leading pack earlier, shot that ridiculous 28 on the way out a couple of days ago with 8 threes and a 4, but today it's just not been there for it. 5 over for the day.
Just been horrible from the moment she knocked her opening tee shot into the water, and she's gone to the turn in 5 over par. So having led at 9 under par, she's now finds herself at 4 under par in a share of 9th place. Still plenty to play for. You know, you can pick up a few shots on the inward half, you could be getting a medal for the Swiss player, but so many players on that mark as well. It's going to be very difficult.
Last time we were at Hull, we told you that Bristol City had taken the lead. Now there's been a penalty. Chance for Hull to get back in it, Shojo?
Yeah, 90 minutes on the clock. We've got 4 minutes of added time. Marvin Melem was brought down in the box. there is a chance for Hull to equalise with Oscar Estupiñán, who's already missed a couple of really good chances in this game. He's got the ball on the spot. Max O'Leary dancing up and down on the line for Bristol City. Estupiñán sets up, it's into the corner. Hull City have an equaliser. It's Hull City 1, Bristol City 1. Oscar Estupiñán with the goal.
Late goal at Cardiff as well, so is this an equaliser for the home side too? Molly Stevens.
It is not. Cardiff 0, Sunderland 2. Jack Clark, the goal scorer, off his right foot, rifled into the bottom right-hand corner. You can see why he's a key player for the Black Cats. That looks to have given Frenchman Regis Lebris his first win as Sunderland boss, and cue the Cardiff City fans exiting the ground. Cardiff 0, Sunderland 2.
Two quick goals at the Den. First of all, Duncan Watmore with his second of the afternoon brought Millwall level at home to Watford. 2 minutes later, Mileta Rajovic scored for Tom Cleverley's side. So the lead is now back with Watford. Millwall 2, Watford 3. Loftus Road next. Aaron Paul.
QPR 1, West Brom 3. They're huffing and puffing, Rangers, but this is becoming frustrating. Albion defending resolutely. Alex Palmer has made a couple of decent stops. One just now from a Steve Cook volley, whilst Michael Frey has swung and missed the ball from a couple of yards out. Seems like it's going to be one of them afternoons for Queen's Park Rangers. QPR 1, West Brom 3.
Lots of exciting games this afternoon. Is Middlesbrough Swansea one of them, Sani?
Well, I've run out of space on my page, Mark, to write any more notes about Middlesbrough's chances. They've had so many. They're leading 1-0. We are beyond injury time now. We've had 93.5 minutes of the minimum 3 added on. Middlesbrough been pushing and pushing. They haven't managed to get a second. Isaiah Jones should have done that when he was through a moment ago. Emmanuel Latte last penalty in the first half, the difference. Middlesbrough 1, Swansea City 0.
Stoke Coventry, Lee Blakeman.
Stoke 1, Coventry 0, 3 minutes of added time still to play. Lewis Baker, the substitute, with the goal that separates the two teams. They could have wrapped it up, Stoke, just a few moments ago. Baker this time with a corner. It flashed straight across the face of goal. All it needed was a touch and it would have been game, set and match. Instead it went all the way through and behind. Just a few minutes to go. Stoke 1, Coventry 0.
Still Leeds 2, Portsmouth 2, and Oxford lead Norwich by 2 goals to 0. And there has now been a penalty at Ellen Road. Charlie Slater.
Talk about drama in stoppage time. It's a penalty to Portsmouth. Leeds 2, Portsmouth 2. I don't really think there can be many complaints from the Ellen Road faithful. Sadie's got the ball, kind of backing his way, shimmying his way in from the left-hand side into the penalty area, and Jayden Bogle, making his debut, grabs a hold of him, isn't really making any attempt at the ball, and now Portsmouth, back in the Championship after a 12-year absence, have the chance to probably go and win it in stoppage time. There are 5 additional minutes. Callum Lang, who's already scored once today to give Pompey the lead at the end of the first half, now has a chance to win the game. He stands over the ball. It's Lang against Meslier, and with his right boot calmly strides forwards and sticks it straight down the middle, and there are rapturous celebrations from the Portsmouth substitutes, who leg it down the touchline along with Lang and along with the Pompey players to jump in the crowd and celebrate with the travelling away fans. Leeds 2, Portsmouth 3 in stoppage time.
Gareth Ainsworth, no club has a divine right to be in any league, in any football pyramid, but it is good to have Portsmouth back in at least the Championship.
huge club, you know. Yeah, and they're overturning a huge club as well, you know. They're a great club. Every time we went down to play them, you know, they had this air about them that they'd achieved, they'd done something, and as you say, chappies, you know, to have them back in the second tier, I think it's apt, you know, and the fans, the travelling fans there. I'm looking at the replays now. The travelling fans are going crazy, and they're in their thousands. By the way, they're gonna hit the Championship hard this year, I'm sure, and that's a great result today.
I tell you what, that's a brave penalty, that, isn't it? Because if Meslier had stayed where he was, he would have looked absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
he's past that.
He's got to stand still, though. No
Yeah.
keeper. If the keeper stands still at a penalty, it's amazing. But if he stands still, he almost passes to his feet, doesn't he? But no, he's dived one way, and you've got to give it to Lang. Great composure and a great goal, hopefully to win the game for Portsmouth.
If you were his manager and he'd missed it, though, what would you have said?
I'm not sure
Unlucky?
I'd take him off on 93 minutes, but it'd be in my head, yeah. I think you're fuming, aren't you? Absolutely steam coming out your ears going in the dressing room. But
he didn't, though. He didn't. He scored it. Portsmouth 3-2 up at Leeds on what has been a very, very good afternoon for the sides promoted from League One last season. John Akers at Oxford.
It really has. Oxford have won comfortably against the side that Leeds beat in the semi-final of the playoffs back in May. Oxford 2, Norwich City 0, and they were so comfortable. Mark Harris gave them the lead in the first half, and then a brilliant team goal with a lovely first-time finish from the very impressive Cam Brannigan in the second half to make it 2-0. Their keeper really didn't have to make any meaningful save in the game, and there's a lot to do for Johannes Torup to do, the young Danish manager of Norwich, because they weren't at it today. And a lovely moment as Des Buckingham, Oxford boy, born and bred, was in the stands with his family, goes off the pitch with the camera following him off towards the tunnel, applauding. What a moment for him, the manager for Oxford United. They've beaten Norwich 2-0 comfortably.
Middlesbrough have made a habit in the last couple of seasons of making really slow starts to the Championship season. Not today, though, Sammy.
No, absolutely not. Middlesbrough 1, Swansea City 0. Borough should have scored a hatful more, really. They had 18 attempts on goal, but it's the penalty from Emmanuel Latte-Laff, coolly taken. He got 9 and 8 at the end of last season. He's already got off to a flyer, 17 more to equal what he did last season. He was the difference in the end. Swansea didn't manage a shot until late into the second half. Worrying for them, none on target. Middlesbrough comfortable today, but only the 1 goal in it. Middlesbrough 1, Swansea City 0.
We did say Leeds would be fun to watch this season, Charlie Slater.
They're a lot of fun. It's 3-3. Brendan Aronson, who was booed when he came on because he had a relegation clause in his contract that meant he wasn't here last season. Boy, he's making amends from just inside the box. It's not the most convincing strike in the world, but it just bobbles and bounces and squeezes itself into the bottom corner of the net. What a game to welcome the Championship back. It's Leeds 3, Portsmouth 3. We've probably got another minute or so of stoppage time remaining in this one. We've played 95 minutes. You wouldn't rule out a winner, would you?
Yeah. You wouldn't at the moment, actually. Lee Blakeman next at Stoke.
And just like last season, Stoke get off to a winning start. Stoke 1, Coventry 0. Substitute Lewis Baker got the winner 12 minutes from time. Nice 1-2 with Millie and Manhurf, leading to a tidy finish from 6 yards out. Stoke deserved it overall. Manhurf ran the show for them. Shamadou hit the post in the first half. Coventry had half chances but didn't really trouble Stoke keeper Victor Johansson too much on his debut. Solid from Stoke. They've beaten Coventry 1-0.
That late penalty has rescued a point for Hull. Shojo Saka.
Hull 1, Bristol City 1, a play with all the plot twists coming late on. New Bristol City signing Fali Mayulu coming off the bench to score in the 84th minute, a quality volley into the corner. Hull had wasted several decent chances. Oscar Estupinian, the culprit on 2 of those occasions, but he redeemed himself, equalising from the penalty spot in added time. Full time then, Hull City 1, Bristol City 1.
West Brom off to a winning start. Aaron Paul.
Yeah, QPR 1, West Brom 3. A Josh Maja hat-trick seals the deal for Albion, who were clinical when they needed to be. Lucas Anderson broke the deadlock for Rangers, but then Maja grabbed the equaliser, followed by a second and third the other side of the break to give West Brom a really solid lead. Rangers hunted for a way back into the contest, but couldn't get past Alex Palmer, who made some really good saves. Good work, though, from Carlos Corbrand's side. Diligent in their efforts. QPR 1, West Brom 3.
Sunderland's new manager is off to a winning start. Molly Stevens.
He is. Cardiff 0, Sunderland 2 it ends. Manager Regis Labrise is delighted, as is majority shareholder Kirill Louis-Dreyfus, who's watching on here in the stands. A win for the Frenchman on his first competitive game in charge. Their first goal from Luke on 9 for capitalising on Cardiff's mistakes. Their second goal from Jack Clark for sitting back, being patient and striking low when it was needed. Cardiff huffed and puffed, but their season starts with defeat. Cardiff 0, Sunderland 2.
Millwall 2, Watford 3, and they are still playing there, and they're still playing at Ellen Road, where the home side had the, well, do you know what? I was going to say had the ball in the back of the net, but I've only realised why they had the ball in the back of the net, Charlie Slater. I'm on a very small screen.
Brendan Aronson's missed it. What a chance. We already said that he was booed when he came on, but got the equaliser in the 95th minute. Now in the 98th minute, he was through one-on-one as the referee's full-time whistle goes, and he's put it wide. All the time in the world to make himself the hero of heroes and make up for leaving Leeds on loan last season because he had that relegation clause in his contract. But my goodness, it's one of those occasions. Look, John Mousinho is marching onto the pitch. He'll be fuming because the 3 points were his, but I'm sure on the long journey back to the South Coast later, he'll reflect on this and say, do you know what, a point at a place like Leeds on the opening day of the season, he's remonstrating with the referee and the linesman now in the middle of the pitch. A point's not a bad thing. I mean, it was just entertainment from the very first whistle. Leeds had hit the bar 3 times before they eventually took the lead after just 8 minutes from Pascal Strake from the penalty spot, and then Pompey were 2-1 up at half time. First Sorensen on his debut, and then Lang with a wonderful ball and a lovely goal from the edge of the box. Nonto made it 2-2 within the first minute of the restart, and then the game plateaued for a while before firing back into life in stoppage time. Lang grabbed his second of the day from the penalty spot to put Portsmouth in front in the 92nd minute. Surely the 3 points were theirs, and at that point all you could hear was that familiar ditty about how Leeds are falling apart again, ringing round Ellen Road, mixed in with the Pompey chimes that are gracing the Championship for the first time in 12 years. But they fell silent when Aronson, off the bench in the 95th minute, got an equaliser. Yeah, they should have won it, but we can't be too greedy, can we? What a start to the Championship here at Ellen Road. It's finished Leeds 3, Portsmouth 3.
Final whistle has gone at the Den as well, and it's finished Millwall 2, Watford 3. Both managers could take positives and negatives out of the game at Ellen Road, can't they, Gareth?
Yeah, I mean, what a game. I'm watching it the same as you, chappers, and it's crazy, this Championship. And they should have won it. Aronson was one-on-one, should have put it in, but obviously it's a great point away from home at Leeds, but John Mousinho's not going to be thinking like that right now. He's going to think that is a chance to take 3 points off probably the league favourites this season. I think Daniel Farke will know a lot about his side today. Very similar to last season. You know, they're conceding too many goals. They need to show themselves up, and Rodon coming in at the back. He's got to start paying some of that money back and saying, right, we're secure. We're going to keep clean sheets because that's how you get out of this league. They're free scoring. They're always going to be free scoring. It's the other end now for Leeds that they've got to concentrate on.
But then I suppose Mousinho as well, from a Portsmouth point of view, can go, look, we were that opening 10 minutes, we were really ragged. We were diving in. We conceded a free kick that Leeds hit the bar from. We conceded a penalty, which they scored, and they were on the rack a little bit. So to compose themselves, get up to speed with the Championship against the favourites for promotion, and get a point. That's how he will want to look at it.
Yeah, and I think, as we said during the game, the first 10 minutes, Leeds were finding pockets. They were getting in behind. Portsmouth were lunging in, a penalty, the free kicks all around. But then they did get up to speed. So I think John Mousinho will be, he's an ex-teammate manager, very articulate, very clever guy, and he'll understand about the boys have got to get up to speed. They've probably gone through pre-season thinking, great, this is great, we're going into the Championship, and then bang, here you are, boys, you're in the Championship. This is Leeds United. We're not going to take this easy. But fair play to Portsmouth. The resolve, the resilience they've shown today to come back and almost win the game is super. And John Mousinho will be the more happy manager today out of the two. But I still fancy Leeds. I think going forward, they're going to be phenomenal. It's just, can they keep clean sheets? Can they be secure at the back?
Let's just round up those results for you once again. So Millwall 2, Watford 3, Leeds 3, Portsmouth 3, Stoke beat Coventry 1-0, QPR 1, West Brom 3, Oxford 2, Norwich 0, Middlesbrough 1, Swansea 0. Hull and Bristol City drew 1-1, and Sunderland won 2-0 at Cardiff. Is it the Oxford one that you would pick out there?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're saying all those goals. There's plenty of goals again in the Championship. It's brilliant, Everyone's free scoring. But Oxford's the result you look at and go, wow, that is a big statement, because if anyone out of that whole list of teams you've just read out there, people will be looking at Oxford saying, are they up for this? Are they Championship? As we spoke earlier in the programme, the gap is huge. But what a start. I actually worry a little bit about Norwich. I think Norwich may be in a transitional period here of not too great a squad, manager changes here and there, and I think Norwich probably is showing some weakness there. So maybe when Oxford come against someone else, we'll see it. But what a result, Des Buckingham. Enjoy that one tonight.
Is that necessarily a bad thing for Norwich? As in, look, they want to be in the Premier League. I get that. But they yo-yoed for a bit. And if necessary, Norwich fans may not want to hear this, obviously, but it's a year of resetting and moving on from a certain era under former sporting director Stuart Webber and just starting again and trying to build something. Is that necessarily a bad thing, even though patience is obviously in short supply in football?
Chappers, teams have to do it. They have to do it. Look at Ipswich, look at Sunderland, look at Sheffield Wednesday. You know, they've all been in that third tier. I'm not saying by any means Norwich are going to go into the third tier, but what I am saying is they don't seem to be that side that competes at the top end like they were. It was always Norwich, they were a good side. They were always in that top six. I just feel like a few more teams now in the Championship are stronger. And listen, I might be totally wrong. This is only day one of the season. It's just something I've felt over the last 6 months with Norwich. And I hope, it's a great club, big club, huge history. Top of the Premier League at one stage, weren't they? I remember that at Mike Walker days, But they just seem to have lost their way in the Championship slightly. Hopefully it's just a blip today. But I'm sure that losing 2-0 against Oxford on the opening day is, like you say, a bit of a kick up the backside and going, right, we've got to sort ourselves out now, whether that's directors, ownership, signing players, or manager going, right, we have to be better. It's not a great result.
Both pundit and reporter today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
See you soon. Cheers Gareth Ainsworth with us on 5 Live Sport. Jonathan Overend watching the final day of the diving here in Paris.
Yeah, Noah Williams is the best performing Brit in this men's 10 metre platform final. The partner of Tom Daley in the synchro event in the first week, and they won silver. An outside bet for a potential medal, but it's a very tough competition, this, with the Chinese and the Japanese 17-year-old Rikuto Tamai, who leads the competition after 2 rounds. He's been absolutely brilliant. But I'll say this about Williams, he's been really consistent. Over his first 3 dives, he's been scoring around the 80 point mark, which is good, and his second dive actually 86 points, so that was really excellent. He's in second place among the divers who've gone so far in this third round, Mark. I'm just looking down, 3 to go, so he was 6th after the previous round of dives. Looks like he might be 5th after this round. We'll keep that one going, Noah, and you might end up in 3rd after the 6th round.
I mean, it is heart in your mouth stuff, some of this, isn't it? They are very close to that solid platform with some of their dives, aren't they, Jonathan?
They really are. This is the 10 metre platform, so it's 3 stories high, and as you say, it's solid, unlike the 3 metre springboard, which is flexible, and particularly when they're doing their inward rotations. Absolutely, you imagine if they've got long hair, it's flicking against that board. It's heart in mouth stuff. They know what they're doing there. They practice this so often, but the sheer distance they have to travel with the acrobatics in the middle as well must be so tough on the body, this, and Williams is going well so far. But we've just seen the Japanese again. He looks the man to beat at the moment, so it could be that China are denied their clean sweep of diving medals.
Our base from 3 o'clock will be the Community Shield. It's Manchester City against Manchester United. We'll keep you up to date with all the goals in League 2, because the League 2 games kick off at 3 o'clock. The League 1 games today kick off at 5:30 because it's the opening weekend of the EFL, and they're all on television in some way, shape or form. We're across everything that's going on at the Olympics as well. Obviously, Jonathan there at the diving. Katie and Steve Bunce are at the taekwondo. Julien Laurent is keeping his eye on every French team sport that's going on. French men won the volleyball gold earlier. The French men are in basketball action tonight against the USA, and that will be another team sport that will be on every single screen in every bar and cafe in Paris. In France, probably, won't it?
Everywhere. And this could be, again, the French need to be perfect to beat Team USA and LeBron James and Steph Curry and all those guys. But if they were to find a way of creating that history and that miracle of beating them, then this would become one of the greatest there in French sport history. It would be something else. So you're there to hope and to dream, and then in sport you never know what could happen.
And you've got women's handball at the moment.
Yes.
That's the gold medal match.
Exactly.
Norway against France. Norway winning that at the moment.
Just about.
15-13.
15-13. I know you love your handball now,
Yes.
so it's very tight, but great final so far.
I only love handball because it's the one sport of the Olympics that I think I might be able to give a go, which I realise opens myself up to ridicule. Back with Katie and Bunsey at the taekwondo in a little while. First of all, let's get the latest BBC News.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
With the BBC News on 5 Live, I'm Fraser Dainton. The head of a hospital in Gaza City says at least 70 people have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school compound where thousands of displaced Palestinians were taking shelter. The Israeli military has confirmed it fired 3 missiles at the school, which it claimed was being used as a command centre for Hamas and Islamic Jihad fighters. The parents of BB King, the 6-year-old girl killed in the Southport attack, have paid tribute to their daughter, saying she was full of joy, light and love. In a statement, Lauren and Ben King also revealed that BB's elder sister Jeannie had witnessed the attack and managed to escape. Dozens of people have been appearing in court accused of taking part in the recent riots or encouraging them online. The National Police Chiefs Council says more than 700 suspects have now been arrested and more than 300 have been charged. And Austria's public service broadcaster has announced it will be showing the Taylor Swift Eras Tour concert film on free-to-air TV tonight. It follows the cancellation of her 3 concerts in Vienna after police said they'd uncovered plans for attacks on the venue.
Good morning. A couple of pretty big stories to talk about today. 5 Live Breakfast.
With Rachel Burden and Rick Edwards.
5 Live Breakfast with us two.
An update from our very special correspondent. Let's hear it for Rick's dad.
Hello, Richard. And I suppose Rachel.
What is that about?
I don't know. That's him. This is not on me. I can't defend the guy.
I didn't want to just pass by the fact that you come into work in your slippers this morning.
Yeah. Just looked down and thought, I'm comfy today. What's going on? Oh, okay.
5 Live Breakfast.
Listen weekdays from 6 on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sports at the Olympic Games.
With Mark Chapman.
On 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
We're combining the football and the Paris Olympics this afternoon on 5 Live Sport. Rebecca McGowan of Great Britain will go shortly in her taekwondo quarter-final. 2 British men going currently in the men's 10-metre platform diving. Jonathan Overend.
And I said a few minutes ago, Mark, that Noah Williams was 6th after the second round of dive. I was hopeful he'd be 5th after the 3rd round. He was actually 4th. And this is how quickly things can change in diving. One error can be so costly. And the Aussie Cassiel Russo, as well as the Mexican Randall Willars Valdez, who both started the competition very strongly, underperformed in their 3rd dives and slipped behind Williams. However, Noah Williams from East London has just put in a 63.4th dive, and he'll be bitterly disappointed with that because he was ultra consistent over the first 3 dives. But in that 4th, which was a tough dive, one of the highest degree of difficulty dives he's going to do today, a back 3.5 somersault, he did only get 5s and 5.5s from the judges, and if he had any hopes of sneaking in for a medal, that may well have cost him, but we shall see. 6 rounds, of course, for the men, so still plenty of action to be seen.
In the championship today so far, Millwall 2, Watford 3, Leeds 3, Portsmouth 3, Stoke 1, Coventry 0, QPR were beaten 3-1 at home by West Brom, Middlesbrough 1, Swansea 0, 1-1 draw between Hull and Bristol City thanks to a late penalty for the home side, Sunderland 1-2-0 at Cardiff, and Oxford on their return to the second tier beat Norwich by 2-0. 3 o'clock, all the League 2 games kick off this afternoon. So that's AFC Wimbledon against Colchester, Barrow are at home to Crewe, Cheltenham face Newport, Doncaster take on Accrington Stanley, Fleetwood, who were relegated last season, face Grimsby, Gillingham against Carlisle, MK Dons are at home to Bradford, Salford play Port Vale, Tranmere take on Notts County. Walsall face Morecambe. Chesterfield on their return to the Football League drew with Swindon last night. The other side promoted from the National League were Bromley, and their first match as a Football League club is at Harrogate, who not long ago were a National League side, so they've experienced this feeling that Bromley are going to feel recently themselves of Harrogate, and Adam Cottier is at this one.
Yeah, a special day here for the South London club here in Yorkshire. Bromley promoted in May after a dramatic penalty shootout victory over Solihull Moors in the National League playoff final. Manager Andy Woodman has been busy in the transfer market. One new player debuts from the start. Cameron Congreve signed on loan from Swansea. Their top scorer from last season, Michael Cheek, also starts as well. Harrogate Town begin their 5th successive season in League Two, having finished higher than they've ever done under their long-serving boss Simon Weaver last season. Bromley had been knocking on the door of the Football League for some time before their promotion. This is the moment they've been waiting for.
Scottish Premiership's into its second weekend. Rangers last week had a goalless draw at Hearts. Today they're at home to Motherwell. Gavin Wallace.
Yes, indeed, and it wasn't a great start for Rangers last week, but do you know that annoying kind of thing that's always in the background? There's always a story bubbling somewhere, Mark. Scottish football is that. There's always a story, and today we're at Hampden Park, the National Stadium, and it feels, if I'm being honest, very much like a cup semi-final. The sun is shining, there's a bit of a breeze, fans were milling about, but obviously we're fully aware of the troubles that are going on at Ibrox with regards to building works and whatnot there. So for the foreseeable, Rangers will be playing at Hampden. Today, though, Philippe Clement makes 2 changes from that midweek draw with Dynamo Kyiv. Robin Proper and Vlakav Cherny, new summer signings, they start today. Proper, that centre back, and Cherny, a right winger who's on loan from Wolfsburg. Motherwell, though, not good news for them. 7 players out, but the good news is, though, that Lennon Miller has made it as well. And whatever you do, please do not ask me to pronounce the Motherwell forward. He's an Australian internationalist, and that is all I'm attempting at that. I'll leave that to you, Mark.
Well, let's hope he gets a hat-trick. And that's not because I want Rangers to lose before I find myself in some kind of old firm argument that Sutton will jump on over the course of the next 2 weeks. Right, so Rangers, Motherwell, Ross County, Dundee United also at 3 o'clock. 5:30 today in the Scottish Premiership, Dundee against Hearts. Let's switch to Super League. Hull KR went top of the table last night. Wigan could go back to the top if they beat Leeds at Headingley. Sharon Shortall.
And this is always a tie in Super League that really catches the eye. Leeds Rhinos against Wigan Warriors. As you say, Mark, a win for Wigan will take them back to the top of Super League this afternoon. Leeds Rhinos, on the other hand, could do with 2 points really to keep their Super League playoff hopes alive, which are rapidly starting to dwindle. The teams, well, Wigan, largely unchanged. Jai Field comes back in at full-back, despite the fact Wigan had a game in midweek against Lee. That is the only change. Leeds Rhinos have a number of changes, with captain Cam Smith suspended and Mikolaj Aledzki out injured. So a few changes for Brad Arthur's side. Kick-off here is at 3 o'clock.
So back to Ian Carter watching the final round of the women's golf.
And a costly bogey at the 13th for Nelly Corder. It drops her from a share of 3rd place all the way down to 4 under par, which is a share of 7th place. It's that congested behind the runaway leader, and that is Lydia Ko of New Zealand. 11 under par, having picked up 2 shots today. 5 clear of Germany's Esther Heinzelet, who is playing the 15th at 6 under par. Ronnie Yin of China and Hannah Green and Janet Lin of China, along with Yamashita of Japan, are all at 5 under par. As I say, Corder down to 4 under par. And Mark, Charlie Hull's just finished with a round of 68. So after that first round, 81, she's gone 71, 69, 68. That's 8 under par for those 3 rounds. If only she'd had a half-decent first round, she'd have been right in the thick of it. Instead, she finishes at 1 over par.
Back to the UK. This feels like this tournament this season. I mean, not if you'll watch it, but it's competed for so much attention this summer that the 100 feels a little bit like it's going under the radar. The women's match between Welsh Fire and Birmingham Phoenix delayed by 15 minutes. It's just getting underway. Nikesh Ragani.
Yeah, we've just started, and the Welsh Fire have won the toss and have decided to have a bowl first. Remember, the Welsh Fire women top of the group. A real turnaround in fortunes for them this season. So win here today against the Birmingham Phoenix would have them with 1 foot in that final on August the 18th, with a match still left to play. As for the Phoenix, they're second bottom in the table. They've got a couple of games in hand over the bottom side, Southern Brave, a game in hand over the group of sides above them. It's a must-win game for the Phoenix as well. But as I say, the Welsh Five won the toss. They've decided to have a bowl first, and they have bowled a really tidy first 5 balls. Just the 1 run scored with the loss of no wicket.
Trent Rockets beat Southern Brave women by 24 runs earlier. The men are now having their game. Southern Brave batting first, 42 without loss after 24 balls. Been talking to Julien Laurent all afternoon about how this Saturday of the Games there are 39 gold medals up for grabs, but because of how the Olympics are structured, you get to this Saturday and you have lots of, you have the 4x4 in the athletics, you have the men's marathon this morning, some of the individual sports reaching their conclusions, taekwondo, diving, so on and so forth. But the Saturday always feels like that big team finals Saturday as well. We talked about the men's volleyball. We've mentioned France's women in the handball. France's women's basketball play USA basketball tomorrow. Actually, that's the gold medal match tomorrow. The women's football reaches its conclusion this afternoon. You're going there next, which is Brazil-USA.
Exactly, at the Parc des Princes, so not too far from where we are, Chapman, and 4 o'clock kick-off in the UK, 5 o'clock for us here in Paris. Emma Hayes, first big final at the helm of the US women's national team, which will be an incredible achievement because they haven't won these Olympics for a long time. They haven't won anything for a long time, actually. They've been pretty poor until she arrived, and she's revived this team by being very maternal at times, very strict at the times, the management of the squads, and even the way she picked her squad to come here to the Olympics, which was maybe a bit controversial at the time, has worked out very well. It was not all great because they had to go through extra time and difficult moments against Germany, for example, in the semi-final, but they did it. And now she's 90 minutes or maybe a little bit more away from what would be an incredible achievement already for her.
But there's a fairy tale ending there for Brazil as well, and Marta.
Yeah, Marta with her 6 Olympic Games, which is incredible in itself. To be able to win it when she's been great at club level and with the national team not always maybe at the best, but then if she could finish it off like this with a gold medal, it would be anything she's ever dreamed of.
And then you are off to France, USA in the men's basketball.
So from Parc des Princes to Bercy to the Accor Arena, so the east of the city, if you want, where 15 or 13,000 people will be. It will be the best atmosphere of these games. Team USA of LeBron James against Victor Wembanyama and the French team. We discussed it and we previewed it. Remember, all at the start of the game, saying that the French had a really good team and they had a chance to go all the way to the final. And now they're meeting one of the greatest team ever assembled together, the Avengers, they were called. Maybe the best US team since the Dream Team of Michael Jordan in 1992. So what an occasion, what a game this could be.
Is it all on Wembanyama?
No, because actually he's been maybe not at his best so far in this tournament. So we've relied on players that maybe not as well known, not as good maybe, like Cordinier, like Yabusele, who only the connoisseurs who are listening would know of. And the NBA players that the French have, like Wembanyama, like Batum, like Fournier, like Gobert, maybe haven't been as great as we expected them to be, and yet somehow they are in the final tonight. So if they reserve their best game and their best performances for tonight, that's fine with me. They can go and shock the world and beat Team USA.
We only have connoisseurs listening.
Of course, sorry.
Come on, do you mind?
They would know all about Yabusele and Cordinier.
Look, I've had a brilliant 2 weeks in your city. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute blast, hasn't it?
You've been great as always, and I'm glad you've embraced the city and loved it. You were a Paris lover before, but I hope you even more now.
Always. What a city! What an Olympic Games! Go and enjoy.
Thank you.
All your team sports this evening. Julien Laurent with us. He'll be on later as well with Kelly, probably hoarse from the basketball a little bit later on. Back to Jonathan and the diving.
Yeah, it's going to be a terrific night. Jules is going to be at the basketball. I'll be at the boxing. It's two big crowds on both the east and western sides of the city, and that's after the action inside the stadium up in the north.
Have you got the big Uzbek tonight?
We've got the big Uzbek. We had the medium Uzbek last night. It was pretty good as well. So the big Uzbek is definitely going to deliver tonight. It's the super heavyweights tonight, absolutely, and a couple of other really interesting finals. So. Yep, we'll be out there later.
So his unbeaten run in amateur fights is 55, I think. I think that's where he's at. And he's looking to become Jalilov. He's looking to become the first man to ever retain the Olympic super heavyweight title. And if you've never ever seen him and you're listening to this waiting for the Community Shield and you haven't seen him before, I mean, it's when you watch them later, it's fairly obvious why his nickname is the Big Uzbek, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's already started his professional career impressively as well. So absolutely, what an amateur career, and certainly the best part of his life could still be ahead of him. Anyway, that's for later. Here in the Aquatic Centre, it's still very interesting, Mark, in this men's 10-metre platform final for a couple of reasons, not least because the 17-year-old Japanese Rikuto Tamai is still very much in with a shot of the gold. He's just a couple of points behind the Chinese Chao Huan. Noah Williams is in fifth, going into the penultimate round of dives, and that's even considering he scored a really disappointing 63 marks for his fourth dive. So here comes Williams for his fifth dive, his penultimate dive, needs to get it back together, and looks to me like he has done. That was a terrific recovery from Noah Williams. A poor fourth dive after three very consistent opening dives, and the man who won silver alongside Tom Daley in the synchro event in the opening week has delivered 8.5s and a 9. It's a brilliant score of 93.6 for Noah Williams, comfortably his best dive of the competition so far, and that is going to push him into medal contention. Absolutely no doubt about that, because he needs to look out for the Australian and the Mexican later on to see how they get on, but they now have to chase him down. He's got a good clubhouse score.
And how long's the wait before those rivals go?
A little while, because he was the weakest of the qualifiers from the semi-finals. So to go from being 12th into this final to now being, well, I mean, surely at least 4th, you would feel after this round, depending on how the others get on, is a brilliant achievement already from Noah Williams, and it will come down to the final dive.
Yeah, roughly these, because there are decimal points involved, so I'm having to do the mental arithmetic. But if I look at Willis Valdez in fourth, the Mexican at the moment, who's only done 4 dives, he's 73 points off what Noah Williams has dived. So that's a rough indication of where you are at. The Canadian, who is in fifth at the moment, he's on 325.9 compared to Williams 403.0. So there's roughly 80 points between them. So we'll go back to Jonathan and just follow those other divers who are in contention as we get to the football. But we're also keeping an eye on the taekwondo as well this afternoon, and that is Rebecca McGowan, who is about to go in her quarter-final, I think. Katie Smith.
Well, we are still a round away of the fight before. This is why taekwondo is so unpredictable. You get so many different types of fight, and because of the rule change this year, which at the Olympics means that it's best of 3, so some fights are done in 2 rounds, some go to 3, and the fighters are always pushing for something. They have to win every round. There has to be a winner. It means that the timings are just all over the place.
And some like this one, Chappers, between the Iranian and the Mexican, just seems to have dragged on and on and on. These are the big boys. You talk there about Jalilov, the big Uzbek. Well, we've got a big Mexican in here, and I'm talking big. He's the biggest man I've ever seen on the mat, other than when I was in Tokyo and once sat down for sumo and sake. I can assure you, Chappers, we're big time, big boy day today.
And what a night that was, sumo and sake.
That's the truth.
If people
they're good fighters, sumo and sake.
Caden Cunningham already through, we should say, Katie, earlier. So he has his semi-final a little bit later this afternoon.
Yes, he does. So we know we're going to see him again. Rebecca McGowan, we hope to see in a few minutes. She's actually up against an Uzbek herself, Svetlana Osipova. That will be tough. Cunningham, it was a cagey fight, but he's through. What is very, very exciting is his semi-final is up against Czech Salah Cisse of the Ivory Coast. You may remember him from Rio 2016, where his life quite literally changed in the space of a second. He became the Olympic champion, beating Team GB's Latela Mohammed with the last second of the fight. A kick to the head, became their first Olympic champion, then got knocked out in the first round in Tokyo, has gone up a weight category, so he's going to meet Caden Cunningham in, well, again, timings TBC in the next hour, we hope. And that should be absolutely blockbuster.
Also, Cunningham and McGowan here have had to sort of carry on their shoulders the disappointment of Sinden and Jade Jones earlier this week. When you look at the sport as a whole here, Steve, with targets and funding, because a bit like Lewis Richardson with the boxing, actually, he had to carry that on his shoulders after so many went early.
Absolutely, and they were the two big stars, Bradley Sinden and Jade Jones. I mean, obviously everybody's talented. They've got medals in different tournaments, World Championships, European Championships and Grand Prix. But, let's not beat around the bush. It was the Jade Jones and Sinden show. We were confident we'd get a couple of finalists, and hopefully in Taekwondo Dreamland, under this canopy of dreams in this glorious building, we thought we might end up with 2 golds. It was left to the other two. I've got to tell you, chappers, I know we talked about it earlier on, but there is something about the way Caden's conducting himself. I've not seen Rebecca yet in the flesh, and I like that. I like to see them walk down. And as you remember, they've got that mad staircase here. I like to see a close-up of their face, see if they're breathing in heavy. I like to see their last look at their coach, make sure they can make eye contact and not look down at the ground. They're all small little tells to me. Never ever play poker with me, chappers. I'm a genius at it. Honestly, I'm banned from most poker tables because of the way I can look into your soul and give you the answers, and I really mean that. So I like to study them just as they're coming up, just as they're getting ready, and have a look. And then once they fight, then it's a free-for-all. And I'll tell you, it's a hard one. Caden against Cisse. Who's writing these dream scripts?
Some people, when they work at the Olympics, talk about hitting a wall when it gets to day 13, 14. I don't know what the opposite of hitting the wall is, but that seems to have happened to Bunsey as we've gone on throughout the course of this week. So, at the moment, we're getting ready for Rebecca McGowan in the Taekwondo. We're keeping an eye on the diving and Noel Williams. We're keeping an eye on the golf. Oh, you're right, Jonathan.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit of a dodgy dive from the Mexican. Our friend Randall Willars Valdez might be wrong. He's got 8s, and it edges him ahead of Noah Williams. But it's going to be very tight, Mark, going into the final round of dives.
Right, so we're keeping an eye on that. We're keeping an eye on the golf as well. League 2 season started last night with Chesterfield and Swindon, but the main programme is about to get underway. League 1 not till 5:30 this afternoon. We've got Super League going on too, the Scottish Premiership. So our base from 3 o'clock is the Community Shield, Manchester United against Manchester City, but you won't miss a putt, a dive, a trunk kick, a goal or a try as they all go in. Good luck, John Murray.
Thank you, Mark. And you might be hitting the wall in Paris, but over here in London with Dion Dublin sitting next to me.